Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Psyche, and today we are ranking every single... Oh, wow. What is wrong with the tier list? Give me 1 second, guys. I don't know what's wrong with the tier list. There we go. We are going to be ranking every single survivor item that I could possibly think of. Survivor ability, survivor item, every single worthwhile survivor something that I can think of. What's going on, guys? How you guys doing? Back to YouTube streams? Oh, no. I just wanted to do just one stream. Since this one is kind of like a surprise stream on Wednesday. Plus, a lot of you guys prefer the YouTube streams anyway, according to the survey. So I was probably thinking that we should probably switch to YouTube anyway, which I'll probably do eventually, but just not for now. What's up, guys? Oh, shoot. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, the annoying part is when I change my tab, everything changes. So there we go. What's up, guys? I'll let everyone come in here for a second. Oh, shoot, I actually forgot. I still have to make an announcement on Discord. Now I can't make the announcement because of the tab switches. What's up, Nori? Katie Love. What's up, guys? I have to do it on a different device now. Make the announcement. All right, I'm gonna do that right now. What's up, Ellie? Is that the real LEO? Is that the LEO cereal? Our favorite? No, is it just Ellie? Just Ellie. All right. Still pretty cool. Still good. Survivor item tier list. Ranking every single survivor ability in the game. All right. If you guys didn't know, I have a Discord server down in the description. You guys can go ahead and join it if you want. If not, that's okay too. I make announcements on there every time I'm streaming live, so you guys can find me in case the YouTube notifications are not working, as usual. At least that's what I expect. What's up, Vince? Hi, Quinn. You just woke up. Isn't it like normal time where you live? Do you live in Europe, Quinn? I could have sworn you don't live in Europe. All right. Shoot. I can't stop the music because that'll be leaving the tab. All right, bye music. I'm gonna delete the tab instead. Oh man, I need to make cookies. All right, here's what we're doing, guys. We are gonna be ranking every single item that I could possibly think of in Identity 5. So right here, we got all the typical survivor items going all the way from Lucky Guy down to freaking Lizard. There you guys have it. It's all the way at the bottom. And we're gonna be ranking from S, meaning very, very strong, possibly overpowered, to all the way to garbage tier F, basically unusable. So S is like overpowered, super, super good. A is very good. B is just good. C is a little bit below average. D is very bad. And F is unusable. So we're going to be going through every single item or ability in the game, such as that Gardener shield that you guys see at the bottom. Next to the map, between the map and the toolbox, that's Gardener's shield. I'll also have other abilities like that. They're not necessarily items, but they're still very important abilities. I don't actually even need this. I mostly wear these headphones, even without sound, just so that I can cancel out hearing myself a little bit. Because I get really self-conscious when I can hear myself and my family's upstairs. You should put a flashlight in S tier, refuse to elaborate, and turn off your phone. Let the chaos begin. All right, so we're going to start off with, can you guys see my cursor, by the way? I don't know if you guys can see my cursor. Anyway, we're going to start off with Lucky Guy Parcel. The Parcel is kind of a hard item to rank because this Parcel can give different items, a lot of different items. And in some situations, it's better or worse. There's also the small chance that you're just not going to get what you want out of the Parcel, which is a really, really big problem. Honestly, just the fact that it doesn't give what you want most of the time, not most of the time. There's some of the time it doesn't give you what you want when you really need it. So it ends up costing you games where you really, really needed a flare gun or you really, really needed something to heal because searching in a chest would just take way too long at that point. Makes this item a lot worse. The problem with the Parcel is that it's usually not good. Because why? Because most of the chest items suck. Most of the chest items are not good. They're really only good when you use it with a specific survivor. For example, perfume is a pretty good item, but when you only have one of it, it's not so good. Mechanics Doll is pretty decent, but when you pull it out of a chest, it's not so decent because it can't even finish an entire cipher because, first of all, you're not mechanic, so there's no extra durability, and you only get half of a robot, so there's no way that robot is going to finish a cipher by itself at half durability, and you're not playing mechanic, so there's no extra durability. The Parcel is a little bit underpowered. I don't know what to say. The chest, they just, ever since they nerfed chests, it's made everything about Lucky Guy worse. He gets less items, less durability on stuff. Everything is worse about it. Flare guns, they stun way less. Even if you pull a flare gun, as Lucky Guy, it's not going to do you much because most survivors, especially survivors these days, will run extra powers in Rage, and they'll invest in Rage, and it's going to be a lot worse using flare guns as Lucky Guy. It's really only good when you're Coordinator because the Coordinator makes the flare gun actually worth it. Psyche, say hi, please. What's up, Ray? What happened to Twitch? We're doing it too for a little bit. For this stream, at least. Map to OP. Lawyer OP. So, okay, so where am I putting this Parcel? The Parcel is like kind of meh. It's not really good. It's really like, it sometimes does save games, but at the expense of hoping that you even get what you want. It's below average. Most of the items are below average, if not very below average, just because you can only get one of each usually. I don't think there's a single item that Lucky Guy gets more than one of. And anything that's like durability, it's very, very low, very, very minimum. At best, it's below average. Sometimes it's really, really bad if you don't get what you want. But assuming that you get what you want, it's like an 80% chance to get what you want. Then it's fine. But if you don't get what you want, it's really, really bad. I'll just give it a C, meaning that it's a little bit below average. It's not good, but it's also not the worst. There's a lot of worse stuff. All right. Shovel S tier. All right. Next up, we have the Syringe. The Syringe is... Are you satisfied with the new Jack the Ripper skin? Leave a comment. I don't know if that question was meant for me. It's cool. Seki, me and my friends are big fans. I'm so glad you guys are fans. Thank you for coming to the stream, Cameron. Anyway, next item. The Syringe. Syringe is... It's okay. It really only exists so you can pull out of chests. No one's ever going to use Doctor for the infinite use of Syringe. Really, I don't want to look at all these items as, oh, if you pull them from a chest, they're bad. I'm mostly going to look at them in terms of like the character you mostly see them with. I'll consider it a little bit if you can pull from a chest. But really, the thing about Syringe is this. The problem with Syringe is that if you're playing Doctor, you can only get value out of Syringe when you're healing. And since Doctor has Veteran bonus, there is some extra value to getting hit. But the problem is there's no guarantee you're going to be able to get your health back. Now, since Doctor heals quarter damage, it's much more likely. But that doesn't change the fact that once you get hit once, it's very difficult to heal again and again and again after that. Because since you only healed 1/4 damage, the best you're going to do is get hit again. And there's almost no way you're going to heal now 2/4 of damage. There's almost no way. In terms of like getting the Syringe from chests, it's fine. A lot of people will search in chests for Syringe, but that is, I think, a huge mistake because the problem with searching in chests for a Syringe is that not only does it waste a lot of time, you're not even guaranteed to get it. And on top of that, you have teammates who can heal you for you instead of wasting your team's time if you don't even get the Syringe. This is more of like an item that you pull from a chest when you don't really trust your teammates and you don't know how to communicate with your team. But if you're a really good player, people at the top level of Identity 5 are not going to be searching in chests for syringes. So, in fact, if I get a syringe, a lot of time I'm actually unhappy with the chest. Even if I'm at half health, I don't like syringes because the problem is, sure, I'm full health now, but I could have had a teammate do that for me and I could have had a different item. Like I could have had an illusion or an elbow pad or a football. Like I could have had anything from that chest. Instead, I get a syringe. The syringe is mostly like a last resort if no one else can possibly heal you. I don't know when that would be. If in that case, you guys are probably losing at that point. It's really not a good item to ever pull. And as Doctor, it really doesn't do anything unless you're damaged. And once you're damaged, like getting damaged to get value out of your item is not a super reliable strategy in this game. Unless that item is very, 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 very good. Which so far in the game, there has not been a single item that gets extremely strong when you get damaged. It would be a cool idea though. It would be a cool idea. Syringe is just like, it's mostly used for Doctor. And if you ever pull it out of a chest, you much rather get something else like an elbow pad. Like why would you get healed when you could just do the same thing? Like, yeah, it lets you take a hit, but you could have done the same thing with like an elbow pad or a football, like prevented that hit entirely by just boosting away. So the syringe is probably one of the worst things you can get from a chest, especially if you're already full health. Doctor is S tier. This is not a character tier list. This is Item tier list. Psyche, the type of person to say, riddle me this, Batman. Jesus Christ, you guys. Putting the chat up was a mistake. Goodbye, chat. All right, next item. Next item. No, I'm just kidding. You guys are coming back. All right, next item. I mean, I kind of had the chat to see if you guys could, like, disagree or agree with my opinion. Like, do you guys agree? You guys disagree? Nah, Psyche is the riddler. Psyche be like, if you are lucky, guys, item, please do not lie. Give me perfume before I die. Jesus Christ. All right. Anyway, flashlight. Flashlight is a weird one. There, like, this item has so much potential, but it's so sad. It's so sad at the same time. I don't know what to say about this item. The problem with this item is that even though it's good, like, it's good at stunning hunters. It's good at what it does. It's good at getting rid of abilities. It's good at stunning hunters. The reason it never works is because every single hunter in this game, almost every single hunter, and like even if you're not one of those hunters, every single one of those hunters has a way of moonwalking, which is like walking backwards while looking away from the flashlight, meaning you're not getting any flashlight progress, but they're still getting closer to you. Meaning that on top of that, you like to get value from the flashlight, you had to be in an open area, which means once they start moonwalking you and you're in an open area, you're almost completely screwed unless there's like a wall next to you and like a window inside of that wall somewhere in it so that you have like a backup. But every single time I use the flashlight, hunters just use an ability that just make them moonwalk backwards. And even if it's something like Ripper, let's say it is Ripper. Like, Ripper can't look backwards. He can't moonwalk. Any Ripper is going to take teleport. Usually they'll take teleport, and now they can moonwalk you because they took teleport. So not only do most hunter abilities counter you, but also any good trait will counter you. I don't think you can do it with Peepers, but you can definitely do it with teleport. And teleport can do effectively the same thing, especially with Ripper, how you do want to carry teleport. So the flashlight usually ends up being useless. It's not like unusable. There are times where the flashlight can at least stall for a little bit, but it's usually very, very bad. It's not going to help you at all. In fact, at that point, you probably should just stick to using your abilities. But it's not unusable. It's not unusable. It has its uses. Though, very rarely. All right. And the next one, this one is technically not an ability, but it is something that Thief has in his arsenal to use against hunters. This is the portable flashlight. You drop it on the ground, and it flashes the hunter, just like a regular flashlight would. Except that it stays on the ground, so it doesn't move at all. I don't know if hunters can destroy this, but it lasts for 40 seconds on the ground, so it really doesn't last that much at all in the first league. It's very easy to avoid on top of that because it doesn't move at all. In fact, you can also moonwalk it if you really need to, but most of the time you can just walk right past it and won't even do anything. I don't even know if it can actually remove abilities in time before you walk past it. This is an extremely bad ability. This is incredibly bad. If you thought a portable flashlight was really, really bad, then imagine putting a flashlight that stays on the ground and can just be walked around or done anything. The main use of this item is you're supposed to drop it on the ground when a hunter is breaking a pallet or vaulting a window, but that almost never works. You want to know why? Because almost every single hunter in this game vaults a window faster than the flashlight can stun. And if the hunter is running faster pallet breaking, there is no way they're getting stunned by this flashlight. They can break the pallet before they get stunned, meaning that against a lot of hunters, like if you're ever going against a sculptor, a bonbon, any hunter with faster pallet breaking, this is useless. You have no use for this. There's no way to use this. It's just like once you have faster pallet breaking, there is almost no way to use this. This needs to like stun faster or something because there needs to be some sort of reward for putting a flashlight that's legitimately worse than your normal flashlight. And so it makes no sense to me. Why is there no advantage to using a flashlight that cannot move over a flashlight that can move around, that you can take around with you? On top of that, you only get 3 of these. Only 3 of these, which is not a bad number. It used to be 5, and then they nerfed it down to 3 in the test server. And now we're stuck with 3 portable, with 3 of these stationary flashlights. So this is legit garbage. This is like, once they have faster power breaking, you cannot use these. These are unusable. Every once in a while, you get use out of these. But it's almost impossible that you will get consistent use out of them. At best, you remove their abilities for like 5 or 4 seconds. But after that, you're going to just need to use your normal flashlight, if you even need to use it. Like, at that point, I wouldn't even use it if you're going against any compatible hunter that can look backwards. How did I overlook the live? It looked like a video, didn't it? When they announced the floor flashlight, I was holding back laughter. What a useless buff. The only thing more useless than the portable flashlight buff is Thief's quote-unquote rework, where they made it so instead of vaulting 50% faster, they just made it so he can always fast fall, and now he actually technically vaults slower, even during a fast fall, than he used to, which is really sad. Because if you got a slow vault with your old vault buff, it would practically be a fast vault because of your 15% increased vault. He was the second fastest vaulter. So go Seki, go, our favorite vanilla boy. All right, the chat is cursed. Moving on. Gardner's Toolbox. I think everyone knows this. This is almost unusable. Like, even if you use this, you're gonna get like they're gonna repair the chair. What are you gonna get? They're gonna repair the chair. They're gonna drop a survivor. They're gonna repair the chair, and then they're gonna get a 10% increased chair bonus. If you're lucky, any good hunter is just gonna see that the chair is broken or that you're trying to break a chair, and they'll just be like, okay, I'll just go to a different chair. And so you just wasted your team's time, even wasting time being there. Like, it didn't do anything in the first place because they could have just repaired it. But on top of that, you're wasting your whole team's time by being there trying to destroy a chair. This is supposed to destroy chairs, and it does a really bad job at it. Ever since hunters have been able to fix chairs, it's almost unusable. The buff is not enough. It's not enough to like spend a whole 10, 15 seconds to destroy a chair when a hunter is just going to chair somewhere else. It doesn't make sense. And it's also not worth breaking every single chair in a certain corner. And on top of that, even if the person dies in that corner, even if they do, at the end of the day, the hunter can still repair the chair. And there literally is no use for this. This is supposed to be like a quote-unquote rework since Gardner got this ability, which we will talk about. But she used to have the ability to infinitely break chairs unless hunter used abnormal. Even then, it was really bad because it wasted so much time. It took a really long time to break chairs because of that. And it still wasn't good. And so it's F tier. We have our two favorite F tier abilities so far. We got Mr. Flashlight and we got Mr. Toolbox. This is really bad. What would you do to make what would you do to make Toolbox good again? I would give an actual buff, a greater buff to breaking chairs because you really waste way too much time breaking chairs. So what I would do is I would probably increase the chair resistance, maybe to 20%, maybe to 30%. Honestly, I feel like whatever chair resistance you put on this, it won't matter because every hunter is just going to take it to a different chair, and there's no way you're going to break every single chair on the map, are you? And no, you're not. So, do you hate us? No, I do not hate you, right? Or any of you guys. The S tier Gardeners this season have been anywhere from laughable to body me during the past month. I don't understand the body part, but yeah. They're pretty bad. The only reason Gardener exists, even in high tier, is because of this ability. And this is the Hellumber Shield bubble. So basically when Gardener starts out in every match, she gets like a 40, 50 second bubble. I think at the beginning it's 50 seconds. And then every time you use it, it's 5 seconds after that, but it takes 2 seconds to come back. This is the reason why at least Gardener won't die right away. But recharging this is a huge pain. This is just the worst version of Seer Owl. You have to stand there, let the hunter come closer to you, and then your ability activates, and then what are you going to do? The hunter is just going to wait out those 5 seconds. That 5 seconds is worth nothing to the hunter. They could wait 10 seconds. They would still wait out 10 seconds in this bubble. This bubble could be 10 seconds long, and I bet hunters would still wait for that. Because they can. And it's still worth it. 5 seconds? It's a freaking joke. It's laughable. It's not horrible. Like, it has its uses, especially at the beginning of the game. At the beginning of the game, it's not bad. And sometimes maybe you will get used. Sometimes, I don't know. It's really not that bad. It's not horrible. It's not like Syringe or Flashlight level bad. It's just below average. Like, it works, but barely. It barely works. Like, usually it will not work. It's kind of like on the same level as the Parcel, where sometimes you get value out of it, but every time you do, even if you do get value out of it, I guess Gardener Bubble, if they hit you, it's decent value. What do you guys think? C or D tier? Is this like below average or like pretty bad? Which one is it? We should have like Miki during this. I actually sit in my water pants. Oh my god. No one here is talking about the abilities. Everyone here is just talking about their life. Sucky's married to me, so stop it, please. Yeah, okay. Bye, chat. You see, I had this chat up so you guys could maybe, like, I don't know, suggest, but nah. All right. Moving on. Hopefully this won't take all day. We're going to go onto the map. I think people actually underrate the map. The map has a more use than people realize it. Besides just being on a decoder, like, think about who owns this map. A decoder owns this map. A decoder who has otherwise weak abilities to kite has the ability to see the hunter at almost any point in the game. Technically, it's not infinite, but for the sake of argument, I'm going to say that it is infinite because you're never going to need to use your map as often, very often, just every once in a while. And even if you do open it every once in a while, I think it's like 2.5% durability loss every single time you open it, or like 3%, 4%, something really small. So it doesn't matter at all to open this map multiple times a match. You could open it at like, I don't know, 25 times a match and you'd get a lot of value out of it just seeing. I think this has more use in 4-man VC, but if you're by yourself, it's still not terrible. And the map also does give a decode buff to Lawyer. So holding on to this map, you will get a decode buff as Lawyer, which is really, really nice. And every single 5% you do, you'll decode the cipher 1% faster. And that really does stack up because now you decode the cipher 1% faster. That 1% lets you get to the 2% faster, and then 2% lets you get faster to the 3%, and it's kind of like a domino effect. And it's really nice. So even though Lawyer doesn't start with any buffs for decoding, he can very easily get a buff very quickly. And if you let him spiral out of control, in a way, he can kind of become like Mind's Eye, except that he's a Mind's Eye that can't get hurt by a hunter. So on top of that, a lot of people forget about the map. But the map will also show you the 3 closest cipher machines, including your own. So if you're decoding one and you use your map, you'll only see 2 ciphers because there's a third one technically next to you. You'll see the hunter, of course, and you'll also see your survivor teammates, which is really, really nice. If you guys are having trouble coordinating yourselves in high tier, that's not as good, but it can still be helpful so that you don't run into your teammates on kites if you don't have 4-man VC. I think the map, mostly because the map gives a decode buff to Lawyer, that's really the only reason I'm giving it B. But I think it's also a little bit better than people realize. The fact that you are a decoder who will always know at all points of the game where the hunter is really solid. Heck, you could pick this up as Lucky Guy from your Parcel ability late game when the gates are activated and like it's a Wu-Ching or something. This could be a really great pickup, the map from as Lucky Guy. No other survivor can actually get the map because you cannot get it from chest anymore. But I definitely do think map deserves some more love than it actually gets. So yeah, the 20% really does stack up though. It's like you stop waffling and answer the question. I don't know what the question is. I wouldn't say Lawyer is actually so good, but for the item that he has an item that can, at all points of the game, tell him where the hunter is. Not only gives him a decode buff, but also at all points of the game tells him where the hunter is. So he can effectively rotate the hunter. Very good in especially low tier. I would say low tier especially, but even in high tier, I think Lawyer has some viability. And I think he seriously can compete with Postman. Postman is the other best decoder we have right now in the game, and I think he can seriously compete because unlike Postman, Lawyer can at all points in the game know where the hunter is, and I think that's really helpful. Plus, it's a lot more consistent. Instead of hoping you get a 20% increased decode letter and giving it to another survivor, who might not even be decoding at that moment because they might be searching for a cipher, maybe they're getting chased, the map will be much more consistent. And so even though Postman can give more value than the map, in terms of decode, it's less consistent. Psyche, who do you have a crunch on? Chill out, Ray. Chill out, man. This is not about my life. Is Postman the best decoder? I would say probably yes. I wouldn't put Mechanic on my team these days anymore because if Mechanic Robot goes down, I'm going to explain this later. If Mechanic Robot goes down even one time, you're not going to be able to finish a cipher. And that's assuming you're playing Mechanic. If you're playing anyone else, if you're playing Lucky Guy, or you play someone who opened a chest and got Mechanic Robot, that Mechanic Robot cannot do a fresh cipher all the way from the beginning. But if... Why is everyone saying Schmitty? Is Schmitty here? I don't freaking know. Lawyer is no doubt better than Mind's Eye. We're talking several tiers better than Mind's Eye. But I do think Postman is probably... I wouldn't say he... Okay, out of the decoders, he probably is the best. But Lawyer is he can compete with Postman, I think, better than people realize. And more consistently, actually. So, are you ranking these items based on rank matches? Essentially, yes. But I'm also... Basically, what I'm ranking them on is how useful are they in competitive settings. So, that's, I guess, rank match. But also... Can Schmitty be your new rank partner? Like Schmitty is right now like a Griffin or something. He has to get higher rank. But it would be cool to have Schmitty as a rank duo. It would be really nice. Opinions on female dancers design. I never thought about it. I guess I never thought about it. I would have to think about it. I never thought about female dancers design. All right. Anyway, that's my thoughts on map. I think it's underrated. It's not the best item in the world, but it's definitely better than all of these items below here. Even better than the Gardener Bubble. It's just more consistent. Like, what better way to kite a hunter than to just completely avoid them? And that wastes, honestly, the most of the hunter's time, trying to find survivors. That is the most annoying part. Speaking of trying to find survivors, we got the Explorer's Book. The Explorer's Book is interesting because it's kind of like the map, but it's not really like the map. The problem with Explorer that I don't like over Lawyer is that Explorer, every time he picks up a deco page, he gives the hunter a calibration. Now, obviously, he's using his book to find these pages for the deco pages, but every time he picks up a page, the hunter gets a huge calibration warning. Like, not a calibration, but a notification that something just happened in this random part of the map. If a hunter sees that, what do you think the hunter's going to think? The hunter's obviously going to know Explorer just picked up a page there. And so very often a hunter will just bring teleport, and they'll just chase some random person, like maybe a mercenary, if they find a mercenary early, or they might chase someone else. Either way, the moment they get a calibration, which they probably will get a calibration very early on in the match, that's when they're going to teleport. And that's when they're going to take advantage of Explorer. And once you get found, this book is completely useless. At least the map, I didn't talk about this so much with the map, but the map works kind of like a Mind's Eye cane, where not only can it let you see where the survivors are, so you don't end up kiting into them or running into them, or maybe there's like a more important team member, like maybe there's a mechanic on your team. I don't know why it would have a mechanic when you already have a lawyer. But that the lawyer will also help you not run into survivors, and it lets you see the hunter through walls. The Explorer Book is not so much. This Explorer Book is nearly useless on a kite. It's really good for picking up treasure, but you need someone to already be kiting for it to be safe. On top of that, not every map is going to be good for hiding. Like, this will tell you the location of the hunter, but you're going to have to shrink yourself, which decreases your movement speed. And I just think it's worse than the map, because on top of that, it doesn't directly tell you which part of the map the hunter is on. It just tells you a distance. So it could be a very big difference if, like, you get a 50-meter warning. Like, let's say you're Explorer and you're an arms factory and you're in the middle of the map and you're getting a 50-meter warning that the hunter is around the arms factory part of the map, the factory part. It makes a huge difference knowing, is the hunter behind all the way in the corner of the map, or are they just like behind the factory? Like, which part of factory are they in, so they don't end up running into them? Stuff like that could really make a difference, because then you have to play safer, you have to be more chill. It's not a terrible ability because it still gives you deco pages, and in some cases it is better than Lawyer, being able to pop a cipher instantly. But the problem with it is that the book, at the end of the day, does slow you down every time you want to use it. It doesn't tell you directly where the survivors are. Sometimes you want to pick up a treasure. If you want to pick up a treasure, sometimes you can't even, because someone is kiting on it. So in that case, the map would have been much better, because the map, because it gives you continuous decoding speed without ever having to go after treasure. And on top of that, we're not even talking about, like, well, what if you're digging up a piece of treasure and then you get a heartbeat and then you got yourself in the situation, so now you have to hide there, wait for this person to leave, because the moment you pick up the treasure, hunter's going to get a calibration, they know it's you and they're going to come after you. So really, it's kind of dangerous walking around the map as a decoder instead of being in the more safe areas. This is the problem with Explorer, though. Since you are a decoder who depends on pages, you don't have a natural decode buff. So you're searching for pages, and God knows which kind of areas of the map. Depending on which order, depending on where on the map, which map, you could be searching for these pages in very dangerous areas or not dangerous areas at all. And as a decoder, it's generally not good to be moving around the map anyway. And for that reason, I'm going to have to say the book is a little bit worse than the map. It's still decent for decode, but it's a lot riskier, I would say, than just playing Lawyer. It's Gardener's Bubble. For those wondering what the hell Ember icon is, and see it here, that is the Gardener Bubble. So every time a Gardener stands still or at the start of the match, he gets a bubble. It's fine. It's really good at the beginning of the game, but it's just one hit. And Seer, you could just pick Seer at that point, or you could just pick, I don't know, Gravekeeper, any hunter, any survivor who could take multiple hits, just like Gardener, except does it much more reliably for longer, because 5 seconds is not worth it. All right. That's the Explorer book. Next up, we have Illusion. Illusion, ever since it's got its third wand, it's made a big difference. Illusions are not as good if you find them in chests, because you only get one of them, and they do not give you a speed bonus. But the speed bonus makes a huge difference as a magician. That 40% increased speed bonus is the difference between you breaking free from a hunter, so they don't just swing in air and then hit you like they would maybe if you're playing Lucky Guy if you used an illusion, or if you use a random illusion from a chest. You don't get that speed buff when you use an illusion. So when you're trying to fool the hunter around and the hunter decides to randomly swing in the air after you use your illusion, let's say they hit your illusion and then they decide to swing, you could potentially randomly get hit. But with Magician, that's 40% speed bonus is really nice. On top of that, On top of that, you get 3 of these. On top of that, you can also body block doors. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but you can body block thin, narrow areas, just like how a regular survivor can, just like how Mercenary and Coordinator can, like all the rescuers, they'll body block narrow passages so the hunter cannot pass through. You can do the same thing with Illusion. And against some hunters, this is better. Against other hunters, this is worse. But the point being is that speed bonus, that ability to block doorways, it's really good just because the hunter has to waste time swinging, and swinging slows the hunter down because they have to stand still for about a second. Every hunter has a period where they have to stand still if they miss an attack. And if you hit an illusion, it counts as missing an attack. And that is the way it works. I call it like the missed attack recovery, where if a hunter swings and they don't hit anything, they'll have this period where they cannot move at all. Some hunters, it's shorter than others. Like if you miss a swing with Spider and you don't have any webs on you, it's really bad. Same with Ripper. If you throw a swing out and you miss, it's going to take you a long time before you can swing again. That's part of the reason why Foggy Blade is Foggy Blades, even though it's a great hunter ability, one of the best hunter abilities in the game. It's just on the wrong hunter because Ripper swings way too slow. And so against those types of hunters, Illusion does really, really well. Against other hunters like Black Wu-Chang or really, really fast swingers like Naiad, the Illusion struggles a little bit more with. But it's still a really good ability. It's very comparable to Perfume, actually, now that there's 3 of them. So I'm going to give it a nice solid A tier. It's good at all points of the game is what's different about Illusion over Perfume. Perfumer is really good early game. I would say it's usually better. It's usually better than the Illusion early game, depending on which hunter you're going against. Perfumer is better against a lot of hunters over Magician, but Magician is just much more better throughout the entire game. And because of his illusions being good against any type of, whether the hunter has attention or not. So that's what I think. What do you guys think? Do you think it's good? I think it's A tier ever since they added 3 illusions. If there was 2 illusions, I would have maybe given it A tier. It's a solid ability for Magician, but he just doesn't have enough of it. Now that they gave him a 3rd wand, I think that's really good. If the sticks are A tier, what's going to be an S? There's really, really good abilities. There's the thing about it is Magician is really, really good. Magician illusions are very good. That's what A means. A means they're very good. B means they're good. It's good. C means below average. D is pretty bad. F is unusable, meaning that you shouldn't even use it in most situations. The flashlight in F tier, you could maybe use it if the hunter has slow power breaking, but any hunter with faster power breaking, you cannot use that flashlight against. They're just going to walk right past before they get stunned. But yeah, Elbow Pad is a great example of an S tier ability because this is arguably overpowered. This is something that you could say that no hunter in the game can reliably counter. Even Percy, one of the best ways to catch up to Elbow Pads, Percy's ability to just dash forward. Mercenary's Elbow Pad, I'm pretty sure, still goes further than the Percy dash. I don't know why, but if you time it perfectly, if you go in the correct direction and you don't bend at all, the distance Elbow Pads can get is slightly farther than Percy, which is kind of crazy to think. Assuming you already had some distance between you and Percy. But there's a much bigger reason why Elbow Pads are so good at it, and that is because unlike Patient hooks, Patient can only go in 2 directions. One when he launches the hook and another when he bounces off an object. Unlike Patient's hook, Mercenary Elbow Pad is not only near instantaneous, requiring almost no time at all to launch, but you can bend your Elbow Pad. You can move at different angles at any point. So you can create a circle. You can go backwards while walking forwards. You can go forwards and then take a hard left turn. Basically, I played Mercenary many, many years, and I figured this out where you can change the direction of your Mercenary Elbow Pad at any point during the Elbow Pad with your joystick. And it creates some crazy combos. I've had hunters lose me sometimes because I will take crazy lines that they were not expecting, and since Elbow Pad doesn't give footsteps while you're using it, they'll have no idea where I went. And that's really good. That's a very rare situation, but it happens. And it's very good early game. It's very good late game. It's very good on rescues. It's very good to just get away from the hunter. Every time I get an Elbow Pad from a chest, I'm never disappointed. I will say this, though. Whenever I get an Elbow Pad from a chest, it seems to always be worse than if I played Mercenary, because for whatever reason, I feel like Elbow Pads are don't give you as much distance when you get it from a chest. Does anyone feel that way? Like if you play Mercenary, I feel like the Mercenary Elbow Pads, for some reason, when I play Mercenary, they give more distance than if I play regular Survivor. Give him 8 elbow pads. Mercenary did used to have 6 elbow pads. That is true. But that was back because that was when he had 6 elbow pads, you guys got to remember that when he had 6 elbow pads, he was also a D tier survivor because he did not have the ability to delay damage. He could not body block. He was basically worse than any rescuer in the game because he was basically like a regular survivor. except why would you play him? He can only do as much as Coordinator could, except Coordinator can help your teammate in rebound, besides just being an unchaseable survivor. But even back then, the meta back then at the time was not do slow decoders, because at the time, it took 60 seconds to finish the cipher. Nowadays, it takes 80 seconds to finish the cipher, so picking stuff like Coordinator was better because it lets you finish those ciphers much, much faster. And those 60 seconds, basically what I'm saying is as long as you weren't a slow decoder, the game was practically over for the Hunter almost immediately. By the time the game starts, the game is over because how fast the survivors finish ciphers. Now that it takes longer to finish ciphers, it's become that Mercenary is better than Coordinator, not only because the Hunters have become stronger and the Coordinator has become worse against those Hunters that have come out, but on top of that, now that it takes longer to finish ciphers, it's not as often that survivors are able to just 3-cipher kite even with normal decoders. So at that point, if your teammates can't kite with normal decoders, it's better to just take a stronger survivor who has a slightly reduced decode speed at that point. And Mercenary is a great example, especially with this item. Definitely one of the best items in the game, no doubt about it. Can never be upset when I get it from a chest. All right. You can still get Terror Shock if you didn't time the illusion right. That's another thing. Like, Magician doesn't get Terror Shock by illusions now, so there's no risk involved. You should just go for it. I would suggest, if you guys are learning Magician, go for illusions, try them out, see what works, see what doesn't, and if you get hit, it's not as punishing. Like, you'll learn for next match. It's not like you get Terror Shock and you don't get any more tries, which is the nice thing. What about the Mercenary timer? Yeah, that didn't exist either. But back then, the bigger concern was slower decoders in general, because once you finish the cipher so quickly, at that point, you just want to prioritize decode instead of just taking sacrifices. So, especially since Mercenary didn't offer that much besides saving his own life. All right, now we're moving on to one of the greatest items in the game that have just fallen and kept getting nerfed until now. Unfortunately, I can't say it's a very great item. It's good. It's good. Don't get me wrong. But the problem with the mechanic doll is even if you are playing mechanic, meaning that you get a 33% extra durability on your robot. No other survivor has that kind of durability on robots. Only mechanic does, because she loves her robot for some odd reason. She gets extra durability. Even with that extra durability, due to the decode buffs, nerfs to the robot, due to them reducing the durability increase from 50% to 33%, those two things combined, on top of that, the mechanic decode buff, worldwide buff got removed. I don't think that applied to the robot, but that did apply to other survivors. I guess that's not relating to the item, though. If your robot goes down even once, all because of those nerfs have made it so if your robot goes down even once, you cannot finish a brand new cipher with the mechanic doll. A lot of the times, even if your robot doesn't die, let's say your robot does survive. Like, let's say in the case that your robot somehow doesn't get found, or you don't get found as the mechanic, your robot will be able to finish one cipher and then about 60% of a second cipher. In the past, it would be able to finish 2 ciphers. That's awesome. But now, the problem with the mechanic doll is even if it doesn't go down, you'll finish 1 cipher and then someone's going to need to go finish the rest of that second cipher. And since you're playing mechanic, the best person to do that is you, because the rest of your team is going to be occupied with kiting, rescuing. You're really at that point responsible for that second cipher. And if you can't finish your second cipher because your robot went down, then now you have a huge decode debuff on your mechanic body, and it's a huge detriment to your team. Where otherwise you could have just been playing a normal survivor. Like, you could have been picking a normal survivor at that point, and with that 10% increased decode, I don't think the 10% increased decode does enough actually. It's slightly faster than regular survivor. We're talking like 7-8 seconds faster than regular survivor. Is it really worth picking one of the weakest kiting survivors in the game? And if you get found, then you just die. Or if your robot gets found, then the survivor, you can't really do anything. Like, your robot can at most finish like maybe 80-70% if it dies. And that's assuming it's doing the rest of your cipher that you started as mechanic. What it means is that mechanic is very, very strong in tying, because it's still a 5th survivor. It's still a 5th survivor, and it's very strong for tying. But if you want to win rank matches, and this tier list is mostly focusing on rank matches. Obviously, tournaments are different because tournaments are more about tying. And with mechanic, that gives you a 5th body. That's still a 5th body, even if that 5th body is much, much worse. That's still a 5th body that has to be addressed. So Mechanic's controller is still really good. It can do a lot of stuff if the hunter isn't paying attention to it. But if you just leave it to decode, chances are, as a hunter, it's not going to end your game anymore. Because usually it's going to run out of energy. Unless there were two ciphers right next to each other. Basically, what I'm saying is the best way to get value out of controller nowadays is to have it do one cipher, and then have it do the rest of your main body cipher. Like, let's say you started out the game, your robot's on a cipher, you're on a cipher as your main body, and eventually someone's going to get hit, though. And at that point, your robot's going to be decoding much faster than your main body. And once that happens, your robot's going to finish, but you're not going to finish. But your robot also can't finish a fresh cipher. So at that point, it's just best to take your robot onto your mechanic cipher so that it can finish the rest of it and still get maximum value so that you're not falling behind for your team. Because think about it. If you take your robot to a new cipher, well, now you have to worry about your cipher that you still have to finish and your robot cipher that ran out of energy trying to finish. So I think it's a lot better to focus on your cipher, but sometimes you can't do your own cipher. Sometimes you have to ditch your own cipher. And at that point, because it really depends, because sometimes you'll be able to get you'll get 40-50% done on your main body cipher, and then you'll try to take your robot to that cipher, and maybe some horrible teleport happens, or maybe someone dies by it. There's a lot that can go wrong. So Mechanic's controller is not bad, but ever since she's been much slower at decoding, combined with less durability in her robot, it's made it so that she cannot do two ciphers at the same time. Heck, 3 ciphers, because including her main body. Because in the past, you would just take your robot to a second cipher, and then you would keep working on your main body cipher. Or maybe you go finish a Mercenary cipher with your robot or something like that. In which case, it's still decent. Robot is still decent. The robot can finish the rest of a Mercenary cipher still. It'll still have enough energy. Mechanic is more annoying because you just see a lot in tournaments. Like tournaments, it's an option. That it's still very risky though. It's still very risky. In the past, at least that risk was nullified because it at least finished a cipher before she died. Now she doesn't even finish a cipher before she dies, unless the robot was already at a cipher when the kite started happening. Let's say you started kiting, whereas the robot got on a cipher. You'll probably be able to finish it, but if you didn't manage to find a cipher before you started getting chased, you are not finishing a cipher as Mechanic. There's no way you're going to be able to navigate that robot to a cipher while you're being chased, especially as Mechanic who's getting slowed down. Okay, here we go. As a mech main, I can confirm you can finish one cipher with Doll, but that's about it. You'll finish about 50-60 on a second cipher as the Mechanic Doll, depending on how close the second cipher is. But at that point, if your robot can only do 50, 60, 70%, maybe, just take it to your cipher and have it finish the rest of your mech main body. So, I don't want to talk any more about Mechanic. We have freaking 40 more Survivor abilities to go, and this stream is already 30 minutes long. All right, so that was just 1/5 of the abilities so far. Let's move on to Flare Gun. Flare Gun, really solid ability. But I also very overrated ability. This is an ability that has very, very strong power on Coordinator. But the problem with Coordinator and the problem with Flare Gun, the more hunters have released, the worse the Coordinator gun has become. And it's mostly because of Sculptor, and it's mostly because of Dream Witch. Dream Witch, it's a lot less effective. At most, it's annoying for the Dream Witch because now they have to put 2 leeches on the chair instead of 1, because if you only leave 1, the Coordinator can stun it. In which case it'll be just as good as a regular hunter, the Flare Gun. Or Sculptor, who can body block the Flare Gun with her statues, which at that point, it's a very, very, very risky ability to take. If you do manage to land the shot, which if you're a good coordinator, you will, then you get a ton of value, and it's very, very good on rescues. It is the best rescue ability in the game once you do the rescue. Once you're doing the rescuer, and you want to if you want to give your teammate a second chance at rebounding, this is the ability to do it. Coordinator Flare Gun, probably the most reliable. You could do a football stun technically, or a batter baseball, but it will not be you won't always have a good chance using a football or a baseball, as opposed to a Flare Gun, which is just a direct hit, which is a 7 or 8 second stun. It's really crazy. I think it's actually 6 or 7, not really 7 to 8. The other problem with Flare Gun is that it is technically a circumstantial ability. It is technically circumstantial because using this gun when you're in an area full of walls, it's extremely, extremely risky. So using it in an area like that is way too risky. Not even including excitement. Excitement is a good thing if they brought excitement against a coordinator, because really that means the survivor should be able to kite a long time, because now they don't have blink or a teleport to surprise survivors or anything like that. So oftentimes I play coordinator for a year straight. So I played Coordinator from 2018 to 2019. I played her for a year straight. She was my main rescuer before I moved to Mercenary. Before I finally admitted Mercenary is better. But when I used Coordinator, this is what I found her problem was. It was not actually reaching chairs. Like, reaching chairs, for me as Coordinator, was not a problem. I knew exactly when to get off the Cypher to still reach the chair. And getting interrupted by the Hunter from far away from the chair, I also didn't find that to be a problem. Because really, if you're a rescuer main, you will know the best routes to take to a chair without getting seen from far. And that's really what Coordinator is about. So even though your flare gun won't help with that so much, if you're a good Coordinator, you won't really need an ability to help with that. Kind of like elbow pads. Elbow pads is more for like a starting rescuer character, but really you shouldn't be needing them if you're taking the best routes to the chair, if you care enough. But that doesn't change the fact that Coordinator, you have to take those routes. Mercenary, it's more of an option. Coordinator, you have to. Because of her flare gun. You can still shoot from far, I guess, but then you lose your value at the chair. In which case, you could have just picked Mercenary and just elbow padded past the Hunter. It's definitely a good ability. I will say that you do need to go out in the open. Like, if you want to use your flare gun on kites, you have to position yourself ahead of time. Like, let's say you're in ruins on hospital, and you want to get to hospital. You either need to shoot your flare gun while they're in like an animation, like a pallet breaking animation, or you need to go out in an open area away from all the walls that you're kiting in. So that way you won't accidentally shoot a wall or something, which is very likely to happen. So it's a little bit annoying that you have to spend extra time, spend extra ways to like move in a different area. You have to position yourself ahead of time, really. But otherwise, it's a very strong ability. Not the best because it has its counters and it has its downsides as well, especially against Sculptor and Dream Witch. All right, music boxes. This is a little bit tough because music boxes are actually really, really strong abilities. People, I think, underestimate how strong the music boxes are. These are actually very strong abilities. The fact that you can drop these down and you can either increase your decode speed or decrease the Hunter's movement speeds and actions and their swing speed and everything is really good. Here's the problem. The slow music boxes. I don't like the slow music boxes because they don't decrease the Hunter's abilities. They don't make them move slower. Like, imagine how nice it would be if the blue music boxes made statues move slower. Imagine how cool it would be if Bonbon's bombs took longer to blow up. Imagine how much you'd get screwed over by that. That would be really good, besides just being slower, of course. That would be really good. That would be a really nice change to make it so abilities. But right now, with the blue music box, what usually happens with the blue music boxes is you'll drop it out of pallet, but and like maybe you'll get a pallet stun. Sometimes you will. Against the right hunters, you will. But against the strongest hunters in the game, they're probably just going to keep ignoring it and use their long-range abilities against you. What I will say is it's solid. Slow boxes slow the chair time. That's a cool fact. It's a neat fact, but it's not really going to help you because Female Dancer is not even a rescuer in the first place. And if you're the one getting chaired, they're just going to break the box right away. I was thinking a similar idea. I see what you guys are saying, that you'd say red box A tier, blue box C tier. I wouldn't say C tier. It's still really annoying. It's still a good item. We're not saying that the blue music box is below average. We're saying that it is still pretty decent. But the red music box is just really solid at what it does because very reliably gives you extra decode. Not besides just being a survivor who also has a built-in blue music box for kiting. But the problem with it is that it's not great for kiting. So Female Dancer as a character isn't great because of her blue music boxes. But as just a decoder, as just a teammate who's just sitting there who isn't being chased, really solid. It gives you consistent value. And even if you do get chased in a red music box, it's still pretty solid. The red music box is still pretty solid while you're being chased because that also throws off hunters. Like, let's say they're placing statues and you just run right past the statue because of your increased movement speed. That could definitely help. The slide, I didn't include the slide ability, which maybe I should have. I guess I kind of forgot to do that. It's not very good. I'll just say that right now. If it went in a straight line, it would be very good. But because it goes in a circle, it's not reliable just because you usually bump into some object on the side. And I would say the blue music box is B. I don't think it's as good as the red music box just because the red music box is just good at decoding. The blue music box is more so for kiting. And the same goes for a red music box. If we like rank the red music box in terms of kiting, they would be on the same level. Like maybe a little bit worse than the blue music box. But in terms of like also decoded, it's pretty decent. But all I'm saying is that blue music box seriously needs a buff. Like make it so abilities move slower or something. Because usually what's going to happen is you're just going to get sniped by an ability. All right, Kane. Kane, if we want to think, if you guys can think of any survivor who has an item that sabotages themselves, this is the item. Mind's Eye's Kane. And you guys might be thinking crazy. You're like, wow, how does he, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, how does it sabotage you? It shows you where the hunter is. It slows down their interaction speed when they break pallets and vault windows and even pick up on balloons. Well, how does it sabotage you? It literally reveals your location. Just like how someone in chat just said, it reveals your location. You are a decoder. You are probably the weakest survivor in the game. And you use an ability that reveals your location. If you're against any hunter with headphones, they're immediately finding you. I have found Mind's Eyes without headphones. I don't even play this game with headphones. Usually, I just played on streams. But when I'm not playing the game on stream, I don't wear headphones, and I'm still able to find Mind's Eyes because I hear their cane. I hear it come from the left side of my device or the right side of my device from the speakers because I have speakers on both sides of my device. So it works the same way as headphones do, and it just reveals your location. It's nice. It's nice. Like, it's kind of like Lawyer's Map, where you can use it mid-kite and you can make sure you're not getting cut off or something like that. If you're behind tall walls and you can't see the hunter or you can't see them using their ability, this will let you see if the hunter is using their ability, if they're trying to hold out an ability. Against violinists, it would be pretty helpful to see, oh, are they about to, like, throw out a violinist note behind that wall? And, like, you could see them charging it up. But Lawyer can do that. And so can Mind's Eye. But Mind's Eye literally reveals your location. What is the point of having an item that lets you see the hunter's location through walls and see it all throughout the game when you're going to die? What's the point of having an item when you're going to die? Any item in the game and you're going to die. You need to have an item that can protect you, and this item literally brings the hunter to you. This is hardly protection. This is a really bad ability just because you are a decoder and your job is to not get found, and if you use it, you get found. But if you don't use it, you still don't really know where the hunter is. Straight up, what I'm trying to say is this ability is almost useless. Like, even if you use the cane for your teammates, let's say the hunter decided to chase someone else. If you use this ability for your teammates probably already knew where the hunter was. Like, your teammates probably are pinging, the hunter is near me, the hunter is near me. Or let's say at the beginning of the match, someone got key spawned and someone calls out, oh, hunter spawn church, hunter spawn top broken, hunter spawn outside factory or outside shed. Maybe on like arms factory or like hospital. Like, there are shed spawns. You don't need the cane at that point. The cane is worthless. You just hold on to the cane at that point for kiting. Whenever I play Mind's Eye, I usually just hold the cane. I just never use the cane at that point because I just hold onto it and save it for kiting because technically it decreases hunter's interaction speed. But seriously, it's just it's so bad. It literally sabotages yourself. All right, I think that's a pretty easy F tier. The slowed interaction speed buff is useless. It's almost useless. I wouldn't say it is useless. It's something. As a survivor who drops stuff very slowly and a survivor who does everything very slowly, every little bit where the hunter does get slowed down, it really does matter. It wouldn't matter so much if you're like Perfumer or something like that who already drops stuff pretty quickly. But since you're literally losing distance every time you drop something, just because of how long you take to drop it. Like, I'm pretty sure some hunters can actually break pallets faster than she can drop it, which is pretty sad, which means the hunter is always going to get closer and closer to you. At that point, every little bit matters at that point. But still, terrible ability. You're right. The buff hardly does anything for interaction speed. All right. Okay. So these two abilities are for Priestess. So the left one is for the normal portal, and the right one is for the world portal, the one that can go across the map. I don't think this needs any arguing. I think these are both completely busted abilities. These are both completely busted. It is so stupid. Maybe the Priestess Portal is a little bit less good than the World Portal, but Hunter's games have been completely ruined by World Portals. Like, if a survivor takes a World Portal and the World Portal is across the map and you don't have teleport or you don't have trump card to switch to teleport, that World Portal is gonna ruin you. It's gonna ruin you. Like, your item, your whatever abilities you had, doesn't matter what hunter you're playing, your game is officially over, because guess who's on the other side of that World Portal? Priestess is on the other side, healing the survivor that you just knocked down. And since Priestess can go through the World Portal without getting a shadow on the other side, that means she can for free walk through the other side of the World Portal and just start healing the person. And even if you knock down that person, you can't knock down the Priestess, so the Priestess can keep healing it. Really, if I were to change World Portal, I would make it so that Priestess also makes a shadow that you can hit when she goes through the World Portal. And that's really important, because now it means Priestess can't just walk through, or else she's gonna die as well. If the hunter starts getting nearby. Or if she does go through it, then she dies. And if she doesn't go through it, then she'll run away. you'll break the portal, you'll knock down the person, and now there's no one healing the person. Now there's a very good chance that you can actually make it to the person before they pick themselves up, which is really, really nice. That would be a pretty good nerf to the world portal. But right now, as it stands, Priestess can just go through the world portal for free, heal the person almost immediately, giving you almost no chance to catch up. What's the point of being able to see the survivor for 10 seconds after you knock them down when they're just going to get healed right away? And Priestess is the cause of that. Priestess has, besides already being able to heal survivors faster with her 10% increased healing speed, which also applies to herself, by the way, it's also ridiculous that she can also start running Doctor as well, because she synergizes not the survivor. I'm talking about the persona trait Doctor that increases healing speed by 25%. She can run that, and the same thing happens where she just picks people up even faster at that point. So completely busted. The normal portals, they require a lot of teamwork, but that doesn't mean they're not busted when that teamwork happens. Saying portals don't need a nerf is like saying Dream Witch doesn't need a nerf because Dream Witch is really hard to use. The same thing applies to portals. Portals are really hard to combine with teammates. It's really hard to tell your teammates to come over here. There's portals here and here because it requires communication. It requires your teammates to work together. And some people can't even work together. Speaking from personal experience, I'm the person who can't work together. But basically, pretty much, well, I mean, on voice chat, I have a hard time working together. Pretty much, not saying the portals don't need a nerf just because it's really hard to have your teammates communicate, work with you to get the portals, doesn't mean that it shouldn't get a nerf. It's the same reason as Dream Witch. Dream Witch should still get a nerf, even if she is the hardest hunter to learn. That is the way it works. And when it happens, it's usually really, really bad. We're not talking just one portal. We're talking 2 or 3 portals, maybe a 4th one, if there's like a 4th one from like that Priestess made a while ago. So this can get pretty bad really fast if you're against Priestesses. This is why most hunters just ban Priestesses. Both of her abilities are extremely, extremely overpowered. Like, no doubt about it. Like, I wouldn't say Mercenary elbow pads necessarily need a nerf. I would say they do. If you want to change the meta, like I want to see a meta change. I want to see Mercenary not be the best rescuer in the game. So I would probably nerf the distance that elbow pads give when you use an elbow pad. But if we're talking about keeping, like, in terms of the most broken survivors in the game, I would say Mercenary elbow pads are not really the problem. It's more so Mercenary's existence. But yeah, football. We have a lot of good items here. Football with forward is just as complete, is like really good. I don't know if it needs a nerf. I wouldn't say it needs a nerf, but it is one of the best items in the game. And there's no denying it. Just because you have a forward, this is a survivor who carries an ability that literally prevents the hunter from doing what they're supposed to do. There is nothing more to be said. Like, basically, anytime you want to do anything, pick up a survivor, chase a survivor, this guy is bugging you and he's stunning you and he doesn't want to give you a good day off. He doesn't want to give you a day off. He's going to make you in every little bit of pain, just like Priestess is. The stunning is awful. The fact that you can't pick up survivors is awful. It really, really stalls you. And then having to chase a survivor who doesn't even decode quickly, he's just wasting your time, and he vaults insanely fast. And he could just football away. Like, let's say, like, you finally have him quartered and you finally have him trapped. Nope, he just footballs away, and then he'll come back later with the rest of his football to bother you again once after the rescue happens. Very strong ability. Being able to just stop hunters from doing what they're supposed to do. Obviously, very strong ability. The assist abilities are very strong in this game, as you guys could tell. A full Priestess counter literally doesn't exist. Where's the adjustment? The best counter is Trump Card Teleport, or you start with Teleport, which I didn't even talk about this, but sometimes the hunter doesn't want to switch to Teleport. Like, sometimes they'll be forced in early Trump Card Teleport, where they otherwise were trying to hold on to a blink or like an excitement, and then they're forced to use a Teleport because a person found a lucky super portal. But yeah. Yes, Ford is a really hard survivor to learn. Doesn't mean that he's not insanely crazy good. What did you miss? I'm late. Not much. Maybe a little bit of a mind's eye rant. But we're just ranking all the survivors items. S is very, very good, possibly overpowered. A is very good. B is good. C is below average. D is definitely below average. And F is practically unusable. That if you use these abilities, you're probably dying. If you had to waste time making this animation, doing the animations with these abilities. Mind's eye mostly because it reveals your location. All right, Perfume. Perfume is a little bit controversial. because it does increase the hunter's presence. But this is something to think about. Not a lot of people think about this. Think about what good hunters do. Good hunters will purposefully not hit Perfumer's Perfume, even though it gives presence. When will the hunter hit the perfume, you ask? Well, if they know a good perfumer. A good perfumer, what a good perfumer will do is they're going to save their perfume until they see the hunter swing. If it's a fast swinging hunter who instantly swings, they're going to have to use it early. Like, you can't possibly time that unless you just guess. But the problem with a lot of people that they don't realize how good Perfumer is with her perfume is that if a hunter hits her perfume, Perfumer gets a huge advantage. She gets a slight speed boost, like the remaining speed boost from the hit. She gets to go behind the palette that she whatever she didn't get to, now she can get to because you hit her perfume. Although she would have been able to reach it even if you didn't hit her perfume. And that's where the good perfumer comes in. A good perfumer, even if you don't hit the perfume, a good perfumer will position themselves by a palette, preferably a good palette, so that they can get to their next perfume within the next 10 seconds. And that's what a good perfumer will do. You guys will see me. I will sometimes play perfumer. And even against chip hunters, Bonbon is definitely the worst hunter to go against. But Sculptor is actually pretty decent as perfumer to go against, because as perfumer, no one's telling you have to step inside a palette or you have to go right next to walls. The thing about perfume is that Sculptor has to use her statues near walls or between palettes. So if you stay away from the palette and just keep baiting statues, you can keep standing there until the Sculptor finally catches up, and then you use your perfume. And then they can't swing at you. So they used all those statues. They finally caught up. And what do? You just perfume in their face. And if the Sculptor hits you, they're probably going to put themselves in an even worse position, because now they'll be stuck in an attack recovery. They're not going to be able to break the palette right away. That means they're getting slowed down. That means you're probably not going to be able to use statues effectively because you're behind a palette, as so is the survivor. Which means, how can you get a reliable statue if there's a palette blocking you? Like, let's say the survivor reached Shed, or Arms Factory. And they dropped the palette. They were just sitting there, waiting there until you waste all your statues, and then you finally caught up, and then you just use your perfume and get on the other side of the palette, drop it, and then it all falls apart from there. And so if you swing at the perfume, a lot of people will use the argument that, like, just because perfumer gives presence, she's not good. But that is actually not the case at all, because good hunters will actually not hit perfumes because it gives them a better chance at catching up to survivors. Unless they're playing something like, I don't know, like Wuching or Geisha, in which case they don't really lose a lot from hitting a perfume because their abilities, they don't anyway have abilities that really matter for getting up close. Geisha's ability, honestly, Geisha shouldn't hit perfumes either, because what that does is that puts Geisha in a hit recovery as well. It's the same argument. It's not the best, because if you get hit at half health at any point, this item is a lot worse. I would say probably C tier once you get hit, but that doesn't change the fact that even if you are full health, even if you are half health, Psyche, they just announced this real time, but NetEase has announced for the NAEU IVT tourney. Are you going to sign up for it? I have no idea what IVT stands for, but the answer is probably yes. I technically do have a team, Ace, but they are not the best in the world, but they are something, and something is better than nothing. Anyway, even if you are half health, I showed this a lot with Perfumer. Even if you are half health, you can use your perfume, and the hunter has no choice but to stand in between your perfume and you. And if they get too close to you, you'll perfume back. If they stand too close to the perfume, well, you just made a bunch of free distance. That's also not to mention that you can use this on heights. And when you have a perfumer who has heights, like who is on heights, who's like on hospital or like Ever Sleeping Town, like just dropping down, this is a freaking S tier item, because she doesn't even need you to damage her to get the boost, or she doesn't need this to stall. She just freaking uses this on platform. She just waits for you to get closer, and then uses the perfume, and now you have to wait maximum time until the perfume runs out. And so in that situation, it's an S tier item, but realistically speaking, you're not always going to have those circumstances. So yeah, she can get distance even if she's half health, so that's also something to think about. She also gets 3 of them, which is really good. But yes, technically, by the way, this tier list is not in any specific order. I'm not saying that Illusion is better than a flare gun by any means, or I'm not saying that elbow pads are better than football or Priestess Portals. This is in no specific order, so just so you guys know. Because I'm not going to go ahead and rearrange, what's better, Perfume or Illusion? It matters the situation. Like, for the sake of argument, these are not in any particular order, so just so you guys know. All right. When is maintenance over? Probably in 8 minutes. You should go check in 8 minutes because usually that's when it's over. So right now it's 8:52 my time. Go check in 8 minutes. It should be done by 9 o'clock. All right, Lasso. Lasso is kind of sad. Lasso used to be a really solid item. It used to be really solid. But that's because it was really, really good at saving people. Now, ever since they removed instant lassoing off of balloons, you can still instant lasso ciphers and pallets. It's become a lot worse because now the only thing it's really good for is being a slight distraction when survivors are getting picked up, and for kiting. For kiting, it's okay. I wouldn't say it's that good for kiting. It's definitely better than like having something like a Lucky Guy gift box or like a Gardener bubble. But that doesn't change the fact that they have practically killed Cowboy. At least what Cowboy does best. What Cowboy did best was saving people like a forward did. And the thing about Cowboy Lasso was sometimes Cowboy was actually better than forward because Lasso, you could do it from a safe distance. And when you rescued people, you got a huge speed boost. And there was almost nothing the hunter could do about it. The only thing they could do was chase the Cowboy, which technically is a weaker kiter than football. Forward with a football. Technically, it is a weaker item. But even if you save people from balloons, you get no boost. Usually that person just dies right away unless you save them right next to a pallet. Unless like when you lasso them to safety, like you were right next to a pallet. Otherwise, this is no good. So really, it's not a bad kiting item. The real answer is like, why would you use it? Why would you use Cowboy? Just pick Perfumer. Just pick a Magician. Just pick freaking Coordinator even. This is really the problem. He's just an outclassed survivor. Ever since they removed his ability to rescue consistently, he's become much worse at doing his job. So now he's kind of like a mediocre kiter. But at the end of the day, why would you pick a mediocre kiter when you could just pick a really, really good kiter? Psyche, Music Man filming? Are we filming right now? Oh, sorry. I guess we're gonna have to wait. I completely forgot. Sorry, Music. Yeah, I was supposed to film something with music. Yikes. All right. Next up we have Music Man is my friend. We make videos together sometimes. You can check him out on his channel. We sometimes film together. Like right now. But I'm going to keep going with this. Enchantress Stuns are very good because when you are rescued from chair, you can do a full stun. Very circumstantial. You're assuming quite a bit there. You're assuming you're not getting farmed. You're assuming you have 3 stuns. And you're assuming that the hunter is not from far range, killing you with a far range ability. I'm not Music Man. I film with Music Man. No. Okay. This is the problem with Enchantress. This is usually the problem with Enchantress. It's that you start with 0 stuns. And you guys are going to hear this problem, the same problem with Painter, which is right over here. We'll talk about him later. This is the same problem with, there's another survivor, Novelist. Novelist starts with no items. They have the same problem. And the problem that they have is that they don't start with anything. When you don't start with anything, when you have to sit there and wait for your ability to finally come, it's usually too late. You've usually already taken a hit by then. So usually as Enchantress, you start with nothing. You're completely relying on raw kiting. And in today's meta, raw kiting is very, very difficult with how strong the survivors have become. It's really no good. Because usually by the time you get even 1 stun, you're getting hit. And like maybe you'll get value out of those 2 stuns that you got, like one from being chased, the other from getting hit. Usually they happen simultaneously. Usually by then you're probably getting blinked or getting hit by another ranged attack, like a violinist note, a statue. It happens that it's a little bit better against Sculptor, but it doesn't fix the fact that you're still going to die to Sculptor. And even if you get the triple stack off, even if let's say you do save your stuns. If you save your stuns, you're probably going to die way quicker trying to hold on to those stuns. Which, by the way, is much worse than if you just use them early on and just gave your team more cutting. Because when you go down, someone has to sacrifice Cypher decode time to come and rescue. So now there's only 2 people decoding instead of 3. And you're going to get a triple stun off, which is nice. And so you're able to get off of chair at least. But what was the point when you died so quickly trying to get those 3 stuns? The ability just doesn't do enough. Like, you don't have anything to protect you while you're trying to save up is the problem. That's really the biggest problem with Enchantress. The stuns themselves, they're okay. The triple stack is good, but this comes back. The ability comes back way too way too late. Like, if this ability were to come sooner, like, obviously the 1 stack is a lot worse. And the triple stack is a lot better. But trying to hold on to that triple stack, you're probably going to die really fast because of it. And usually, it's not worth it. You could have just went a better item. Not only a better item, but also an item that you start with right away in the game. So even though it's a good item, it's really only good if you're not the one already being chased. Because if you're the one being chased, then trying to save these items, these skulls, these curses, it becomes way too difficult without dying. It's over at 9 o'clock. Maintenance is over at 9 o'clock. Everyone's going to be ditching the stream after this. All right. But yeah, that's the problem with Enchantress. Enchantress, honestly, if she started with with a stack at the beginning of the game, it wouldn't change this. This item still would probably be not as good. Maybe I would move it up because now she actually starts with something, and if you start with something, it'll help you get to the next one sooner. But this one would definitely be higher because the moment you get hit once, by the time you're kiting, and the moment you get hit once, you probably already have a triple stack. So this would be a much better ability if you started with 1. But since you start with 0, it's more like B tier because usually you're getting the triple stack when you die, which will require someone to rescue you. And by the way, you don't always want people to rescue you. Sometimes it's the best move to make is to just let you die. And if you have a triple stack, well, it's hard to let you die. But also, why did you pick that character in the first place? You could have just picked a better kiter instead of forcing your team to now rescue, because otherwise your character got no value. It can buy, the 1 stack has some infinite kites in quite a few places and can buy time to harass and balloons. The problem with it is you start with 0. If you started with 1, I could see where you're coming from, but you start with 0, so usually you're getting hit before you can even get 1. And by the time you get a second or a third, you're getting blinked or maybe hit by another ability. Hi, Levy. Welcome to the stream. So you would definitely put the single stuns in B tier. We're talking about a high tier level here. It's really risky going Enchantress because you don't start with anything. Psyche Music wants to know when you finish. Let him know that I'll be done at minimum in an hour. At most. I might finish sooner. I play Spider and she's the only other survivor besides... I play Spider and she's the only other survivor? Spider's a hunter, bro. Anyway, if you guys may disagree with me over this, but at the end of the day, you take time to get this. You start with 0. And because you start with 0, it makes it harder to get this. Simply because of the fact that you don't have enough time to get all this stuff before you're dying. It makes a huge difference. It effectively makes Enchantress worse. Like her abilities are not bad. Don't get me wrong, her abilities are not bad. What makes it bad is the fact that you don't start with anything to help you get those abilities. So I can't give her a high tier because of that. You need something right away these days. All right. Now we have Coffin. Coffin is okay. The problem with the Coffin is they gave Coffin a rework where for like the first 6 or 7 seconds, maybe 8 seconds, you are invincible to all damage. Nothing can hurt you when you come out of a coffin. Because previously the problem with the Coffin was that you'd be stuck in an animation coming out of the coffin and the hunter would immediately hit you. Like usually it's not too hard for a hunter to just teleport across the map and hit you in a coffin. Unless your coffin is like on the 2nd floor of hospital or like on Big Boat or something like that, assuming the cipher is done over there. Psyche, who's your main? I don't have a specific main. I just kind of go whatever my team needs. So anything in the S tier, A tier survivor region, that is what I play. He can relocate the coffin. That's something. It's something to think about. And the coffin can be amazing. It can be amazing. But here's the problem with the coffin. The coffin itself, if it's saving, it's on a survivor who has no defense is the problem. So if the Embalmer is the one who gets found early on, you have to think about it this way. Is it worth you can think about it this way. You only have 4 survivors you can put on your team. 4 different survivors. Every single one of those survivor spots has to help your team in some way. And your job is to pick the best possible one for the situation. And when you put yourself in this situation, it becomes really hard to find a place for Embalmer. Because why would you pick Embalmer when you could just pick a stronger kiter? Why would you pick Embalmer when you can pick a very strong rescuer? Why would you pick Embalmer when you could just pick a strong assist character like Forward, Priestess, Batter, other assist characters I'm not thinking of? There's too many problems with the coffin. It comes down to the fact that this is the last reason why coffin is weak. And it mostly comes down to, it really depends if the embalmer is the one who gets found. If the embalmer gets found, it's kind of a GG. You guys are probably not winning that unless like the hunter really screws up or the hunter's not playing a good hunter. You're angering the Embalmer fans. This is not to appease the fans. If you guys seriously think Embalmer is a good survivor, you guys need to go play top tier survivor and try playing Embalmer up there. You're gonna get your butt kicked. That is all I have to say. And if you use, this is the problem with Embalmer, you coffin across the map and you have a bubble that protects you. Oh, look at me, I have a bubble that protects me. You have no ability after the bubble runs out. You are dying to whatever ability the hunter has. So that bubble that you have, you are usually dying not long after that bubble runs out. And so basically what it comes down to is that rework didn't change much. It just made it so that you don't die immediately, but you die not too long after that either. So the coffin needs to be, you need to have the appearance recorded. You need to go position yourself in a place for the coffin to be good. You need the cipher near the coffin to be finished. And you need the hunter to preferably, if they don't have teleport, you need the hunter to not have teleport or trump card. And if they do have teleport or trump card, you need also, fourth of all, finish the cipher. That's all assuming that you're okay with wasting plenty of decode time for your team. Like, is it really going to be worth wasting that much decode time to record the appearance, go to this random place in the map where the cipher is already done, just so you can put a coffin down and record their appearance, and then maybe you'll get back that time. Maybe. It's very map specific. On top of this ability is very map specific. It really only works on a few maps, and that's assuming the other three criteria are met, where the hunter doesn't have teleport, and if they do have teleport, then you have to finish the cipher. And also it assumes you're not being chased as in the Embalmer. It's just the problem with Embalmer is that he is not himself a good survivor. He has a great ability. He has a fine ability. Maybe I should put it B tier. It's not bad. All right, I'll give it up. I'll give it one. It's not as bad as like Gardener Bubble. It's like higher up. But still, if you are the Embalmer, you are in a lot of trouble because you're gonna die. So really, as Embalmer, you're kind of like a decoder where you have to like hide, kind of like decoders do. And if you have to hide without even knowing where the hunter is, no ability to help you figure out where the hunter is so that you don't get found, then you're gonna have to sacrifice your team's time. Coffin has tied for 15 seconds. When did the Coffin have borrowed time? The Coffin never had borrowed. Klutz, are you the same one from like rank that I see every once in a while? In that case, yo, what's up? Nice seeing you. 7 seconds of immunity and 15 seconds of tide turner. The problem is that the immunity will run out not long, like in 7 seconds, and not long after the immunity runs out, you're gonna die to like, I don't know, like any good hunter. Like freaking bombs will start bombing you, like freaking blowing you up because you have no abilities to help you at that point. It was really just your Coffin stalling for time. It's like he's being too kind putting Embalmer Coffin that high. All right, okay, here's the thing. We are rating abilities, not survivors. I have to keep this in mind. We are rating the abilities, not the survivors. You see, Enchantress, I would probably put in like C, B tier. I would probably put her in C tier, honestly, just because it takes too long to get their abilities. But the Coffin itself, like let's say the Coffin was on other survivors who had stronger kiting abilities already, then the Coffin would be really good because now the Embalmer has some way to protect himself, or whoever has the Coffin has a way to protect themselves. But since the Embalmer only has a Coffin, he has no way of protecting himself, and it's very situational. The Coffin is too situational. Yeah, you're right. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit because, like I said, it is situational. You need it to be in the right map, in the right spot. The cipher has to be done. All right. I changed my mind. I brought it up a tier and then I brought it down. Because like I said, I'm not saying that you can't get amazing value, but it's very, very rare. Like in my experience, it's rare to get amazing value from the Coffin. So that's how it goes with the Coffin. By the way, is the maintenance over? My hatred of Embalmer runs deep, yet when I take IDV personality, says I always get him. That's ironic. I didn't know there are IDV personality traits. It's kind of weird. My Embalmer hate club is growing. Look, I hate Embalmer as a survivor, but his Coffin, I gotta admit, can give value, but it's very situational. It is very situational. You need to have the appearance. You need to have it in the right spot. The cipher nearby has to be finished so that it doesn't get teleported on. You just don't use it on bad maps for him. Well, now that means that you can't use this item on like half the maps in the game. That makes the item worse. Psyche, when did you start playing IDV? I started playing in... the game says I started in July. But I thought I started in August. So I don't know. I could have sworn I started in August. The game says July, so I'll trust the game. The coffin is either a game changer or just dead weight. That sounds like a perfect place for C tier. It's a game changer or it's just dead weight. It's usually just dead weight. Don't embalmers just save themselves, to be honest? Yes, usually that's what happens because they're not very good at hiding. But if you're playing at a high tier level, I believe that embalmers can hide themselves well. That doesn't change the fact, though, that they still need their appearance. So, and like, what are you going to do? Are you going to start wasting time looking for people? Really, if you find them, good for you. But usually you'll just only be able to record their appearance when they pass by you. You're not going to specifically go looking for them. Is having a coffin near a global portal a good strat? You see, that's interesting. I think the answer is usually no, because unless the hunter teleports after the embalmer already got revived from the coffin, or whoever got revived from the coffin, think about it. It takes 8 seconds for the person to revive off a coffin. So within those 8 seconds, if the hunter teleports and destroys the world portal, you're basically just left with the coffin. So I would say no. But really, if the hunter doesn't have teleport, you anyway probably don't need the world portal. You could have just put your coffin in a better spot. But I understand, though, because the difference with Priestess is Priestess can make world portals at 2 different ends. So even though she might be in a bad spot for herself, she can connect to someone across the map. Embalmer cannot do that. Like if Embalmer had the ability to, like, let's say Embalmer had the ability to tell people whose appearance they recorded to move the coffin, that would be much better because you didn't have to waste time walking across the map for the better coffin placement. Like that would be a pretty decent Embalmer buff actually. Like if you recorded someone's appearance, that survivor whose appearance you recorded has the ability to move the coffin like near them if the Embalmer is getting chased. So that way it guarantees that the Embalmer is going to die far away from the coffin. Something like that. I think that would be a good way to buff coffin. I have to agree, though. I will always remember the times I turned a Taito in my coffin. It happens. It definitely happens, but it's very rare. All right. That was definitely a controversial one. Let's move on to a less controversial one. All right. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. It's a free hit anywhere on the map. It basically means that every survivor has 3 hits now. Technically not. But whoever gets chased, you can just give them a 3rd hit. So in theory, everyone has a 3rd hit that they can take. If you don't use it on the kite, you could also save it for the rescue. Or maybe it's not good to do it on the kite because the person's going to die right away anyway. Or maybe the rescuer doesn't want to rescue and they want to save their health. And let's say it's like a bonbon or a sculptor or something, and using an owl there wouldn't be as good because they're probably going to get hit by a statue and then by a basic. So that wouldn't really solve the problem of staying full health. Really, it's very versatile. My one problem with Seer himself is he's not as great of a kiting character because he only starts with 1 owl, and it's not on some maps it's easy to get a 2nd owl. On other maps it could be hard getting a 2nd owl because of tall walls and stuff like that. But this is not about the survivor. If he gets found early, this is more about his ability himself for the survivors that exist in the game. All right. I know I put all 3 Acrobat Balls in here, but they all serve the same purpose. All of these balls serve the same purpose. Like sometimes you'll get extra value with the Mud Ball. Sometimes you'll get amazing value with the Nitro Bomb. Other times you'll get amazing value with the Fire Bomb. Really, I'm gonna be putting them all in like the same tier because they're all really good. They're all really good. And like you can use them in different situations. So you can't say the Mud Ball is always going to be better than the White Bomb. Because the White Bomb can be used on windows or pallets that the hunter wants to break, but the Mud Ball cannot be used in that situation because they're just going to vault over the window and they're not going to be getting slowed down. In other ways, though, if you're in a narrow area that won't be involving any pallets or windows, you'd rather use the Mud Ball. The Mud Ball would be better there. And the Fireball is just kind of a all-purpose in whatever area you are, which is the nice thing about the Firebomb. It's probably White Bomb is probably the most expendable. Firebomb, it depends on the map, of course. So really, what you're using the Mud Ball for, or any of the balls, is usually just for distance. The jump is amazing. Dude, Acrobat doesn't even need those debuffs to give to the hunter. He would still be a great survivor. This is just extra. Ever since they nerfed his roll, and they also nerfed the effectiveness of his bomb, I can't say they are S tier, but they are still really, really good. Very, very... The bombs are totally B tier? Definitely not. Definitely not, because we're not looking at the effects of the bombs. We're looking at what it also gives, and it gives a jump, and the jump is the most important part about the bombs. So I'm gonna be putting them all in the same tier because sometimes one is better than another, and other times the other is better than the first one. If that made any sense. But really, the important part about these bombs is that they give the jump. You could remove the effects, and Acrobat would still be a really good survivor. It's just a great kiting item. The bombs are totally A tier. Definitely agree. It's good that they added the blink thing to show where you are landing. He didn't have it before. I guess they did. Okay, now I know what that thing is for. Because, like, for me, I always feel like I land over. For a while, I thought that was where the bomb lands. I would rather if that blink thing was, like, where the bomb lands, not where I'm landing. But I guess I could, like kind of guess where the bomb's landing. I wish the blink thing was, like, the bomb, though. Maintenance is over. All right, bye, everybody. Goodbye. But if you guys are still here, we're going to be talking about Wildling next. Wildling is a weird one because even though Wildling himself is not a good survivor, his ability is good at just stalling the hunter. But if we're talking about harassing the hunter, if we're talking about getting to the chair, this ability is not so great because unlike elbow pad, unlike football, once you stop using this ability, you are on a cooldown, which means you don't have anything to get away from the chair after you do the rescue, which means the hunter can very likely double hit you by not having a way out. At that point, you're kind of relying on being able to do a rescue immediately after a hit, so that way you can use the hit speed to get away, which is not too hard to do if you're a good rescuer. But this is the problem with the pig. The pig is such a strong ability that it has to go on a weak survivor, and that weak survivor is so bad that it used to be a good survivor. But after they've nerfed this pig, they made it so the pig gets less and less value the more you use it. And on top of that, the moment you use it, if you use it too late, sometimes the hunter can just hit it right away, both times, if you don't get enough speed. Or other times, like, you'll get on it, the hunter will hit it once with, like, their basic attack, and then they'll be able to hit it again. It's still decent because it got a hunter ability out, but the problem remains that it just gets worse and worse the more you use it. And it's not a good rescue ability in the first place because if you use it before the rescue and then get off, you don't have anything after the rescue. If you use it after the rescue, then you have to hope that the hunter doesn't find you from far, because if you do it too late, you're going to be too slow to outrun the hunter. So I would give it a B tier. It takes a lot of time to charge up. It's a good ability if you're ever going to be the one kiting, but since it starts off very strong, it gets weaker as it goes, and it kind of like it nullifies how good it is, just because it gets worse and worse as you use. Good item, horrible survivor. It is a good item. It's kind of okay because it gives the person wiggling 10% wiggle. Not really, because when is the hunter ever going to have a person struggle free? Like, if you are a hunter main or you're a survivor main, I don't even know what. If you could be both, and you will know that there's chairs everywhere. They have buffed it so that there's chairs in so many places. Like, there are way more chairs nowadays on every map than there used to be before. On almost every map, they've made more chairs. So this ability has also become a worse for that reason. That what's the point of giving wiggle speed if they're just going to get chaired before they're able to wiggle out? It's just, there's no point. You'd have to have them be like the person be in an open area, and usually that's not going to happen because the person was. Think about it: if a person who's kiting is kiting by pallets, what do pallets have? Pallets have walls. What is Wildling really bad at dealing with? Walls. That's why Ford is so much better, because people will rely on pallets and windows to kite, and if you're kiting in the open, then what are you doing? Bees are honestly better than the hog. I would probably say that, because the hog really starts off slow, so a lot of the time you have to use the hog early, and when you use the hog early, the survivor just leaves you at that point. And now that you use your hog once, they'll just leave. The next time you use it, it's going to get much worse. Which hunter can counter 4 wildlings? Because I did face him and I got destroyed. We're talking about like rank, maybe tournaments, not so much tournaments. This is mostly rank. So in rank, you cannot face 4 wildlings. Which hunter can counter 4 wildlings? Gamekeeper is a great example. You hook them and they immediately get off their pig. I think there's another hunter that can make wildlings get off their pig, but I forgot which one. Gamekeeper hook. If you ever face 4 wildlings, go Gamekeeper. If they use their pig, it just knocks them off the pig and they have a cooldown. So really solid. Geisha is also pretty decent. You're right. Geisha is decent as well. Wheel can snap Pig off. Thank you. Wheel was the one I was thinking of. Thank you. So Wheel is the one that can do it. Thank you, Zeus, Viper Fang. You guys got it. All right. Prospector Magnets. This is a weird one because Prospector Magnets are pretty decent. They are decent. The problem is they're not useful against stuff like... let's think here. Definitely not good against Blood Queen. Maybe good against Dream Witch. Usually not. Maybe good against Sculptor. Usually not. I don't play Prospector enough, and I don't see enough people play Prospector. So this is kind of hard to say because I also don't see a lot of good Prospectors in the first place. So it's really hard for me to judge this. What do you guys think about Magnets? I personally don't think they're up to par being A tier because even though they can help people rescue from balloons, it's way too easy for the hunter to drop, and they hardly lose any time unless the cipher's like already primed, which is very rare. I also find that as Prospector, you usually have to use all your magnets very quickly. I don't know, maybe this is just a bad Prospector thing, but I find that whether I'm playing Prospector or other survivors are playing Prospector, I find that I have to use my magnets very quickly. And if I have to use my magnets very quickly, I'm going to have nothing in the future. And the reason I have to use them so quickly is because the stun, like stuns for like maybe a second, but then I'm once again going to die to like whatever ability that hits through walls or across walls or something like that. Starting with one magnet is that's the other problem. He only starts with one magnet. That is something to consider. Every time I rescue a Prospector, I rescue and take a hit. Oh, sorry, that person. I can't reach your comment anymore. No, because I can't switch tabs. There are some naggins like pushing Hunter off 2-story and pulling Hunters, holding survivors, and then using the others to keep Hunter from moving. It's weird because Prospector does have his uses. Like, have you guys seen the Prospector trick that he can stand on top of Hospital? Like on the second floor, he can pull survivors up to him. That's a good example of a really good Prospector use. On top of Lakeside Bow, going up the stairs on the outside, like those wooden beams. That's another great example because you can pull the Hunter to the side of the boat and then they just fall off, which is really hilarious. But that's the problem. Those are just 2 areas in the entire game. What about every other map? What about every other area within Hospital besides just Hospital? What about every other area in Lakeside besides just Big Bow? What about those areas? In those areas, it's kind of the same problem. So it's fine. It's not so good, really. I mean, it's decent. It's good. B is good. Like B does mean that it's good. good. Maybe I should like put very good. Okay. Very good. Possibly. Very God. God. No, I don't want to say very God. Below average. Just so anyone joining the stream. Well, no. Slightly. No, that's slightly too long. Well, I guess we could leave it as average. I guess we could leave it as average. Hey, these abilities are pretty average. Like sometimes they get the job done, sometimes they don't get the job done. Below average. And this one will be unusable. All right, because just so people who are tuning in understand what the tiers are, so they get a little bit of a better idea. So Prospector Magnets are good. They are good. I wouldn't say they're very good. F is no. F should be like, I don't know. F should be commit the Lego step. You can also push the Hunter from the stairs of Leo's memory, but it's kind of hard to pull off. All right. It is a thing. You can do it. Maybe. It is hard, yeah. I can see where you're going with it. How would you do that? That would be really hard to pull off, yeah. Because there is technically a height difference, but yeah. If the Toolbox had 0 cooldown, it'd definitely be used more. Maybe D tier, but it's still a waste of time. It's still a waste of time. Because usually Hunters will just take you to a different chair. All right. Pocket Watch is a good item, on the other hand. Pocket Watch is a pretty decent item. I would put it A tier. I think you guys can agree with me as well that it is very annoying chasing a first officer with a pocket watch. I'm gonna have to move myself down a little. Shoot, where am I gonna go? Should I go here? I might just move it. I might just move the whole tier list. Make it shrink it maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Actually, yeah, I could probably shrink it. Let's shrink this. Can I shrink this? No, I can't shrink it. All right. Well, I don't know what I'm gonna do with the A tier. We'll see. But it's really solid. for kiting. The problem is you only start with 2 of them. If he had a 3rd watch, I would probably put it in S tier. It's hard to say though, because it's really just for himself, and it doesn't change the fact that it doesn't really speed him up. He could still get hit by a random like penguin bomb or something like that. Any area of effect stuff is also pretty bad against watch, pretty good against watch, because it's very likely he's going to get hit in that area of effect. It can be rough using this watch against some hunters. It's pretty good overall. Against a lot of hunters, it is really good. The problem is that there's only 2 of them. If there was a 3rd watch, I'd probably put it in S tier, because that's like 90 seconds. Oh, put the camera in DF tier. That's kind of a weird place for the camera, though. For me, the watch is C tier. What kind of hunter do you play, Klutz? Don't you play Axe Boy? Oh, you're the Axe Boy! Oh, now I remember you. Yeah, you're right. If a first officer uses watch against Axe Boy, and even if they're invisible, if you have full presence, it'll like show an outline around the survivor, and it literally exposes them. If the first officer leaves the area. On top of that, the first officer's soul will continue following him, not the thing. It's a good ability. It's an ability that forces you to not chase first officer. That's really about it. It's solid on rescues. It's not the best. All it does is guarantee a rescue. That's pretty much all it does. But it's still really decent. Maker cane remove the sound, so it's silent. I would agree. That would make the cane much better. You can just stand away from the first officer and wait for the 10 seconds to end. Klutz, I don't think you understand how first officer works. First officer has 30 seconds. He can start off. He has 30 seconds worth of watch. I don't know. I don't know what you're confused about. I guess you've never played first officer. Because if you never play first officer, the game will only tell you that the watch lasts 10 seconds. If you played first officer, you know you can just tap. You can tap the watch again, and it lasts another 10 seconds. And then you can tap it a second time, and it lasts another 10 seconds. It lasts 30 seconds in total. They mean away from the area? Wait, you're telling me the pocket watch doesn't work if the hunter is outside like 10 meters? Okay, I don't know that for sure. I don't know why the devs would do that. That would be a terrible way of making the watch better. If the watch is used away from the hunter, there is no delayed image. Oh, I did not know that. That's pretty bad then. That's pretty darn bad. Wow. How big is the area? The area is 10 meters. The area is 10 meters, I think. Is it 32 or 10 meters? If it's 32, I'm going to put it back in A tier. If you tap it again and you're not in the area, it doesn't count. I think the area is 10 or 12 meters. I don't remember which one. The first watch is 32 meters. But the second and third one, I'm pretty sure it's 10 meters. When the first officer uses the third watch, the area is super short. Oh, okay, so I see the first watch has 32 meters. The second watch has 10 meters. And the third watch has to be 6 meters. I never knew that. This is what I thought. I thought that was just a bonus. I thought that if they used the watch within 10 meters instead of 32, you would have a 2-second delayed image instead of 1. Wow. Okay. Are you guys sure? That that the 10 meter thing isn't just referring to as a bonus? Are you sure that if you're because I could have sworn that if you're still within 32 meters, it'll at least still give you a 1-second image. Are you guys sure? Still at least B tier for guaranteed rescues? Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah, you're right. It is still a guaranteed rescue. Although, that being said, there are better rescuers, but that doesn't mean his item is not good still. Time to test it out on stream. That should go in the Mythbusters. I should make a Mythbusters video about that. I did not know that. I thought that as long as you're within 32 meters, it will always give you a 1-second delay. I didn't know that. I thought that the 10 and 6 meter thing was just a bonus. Wow. Okay, I did not know that. Thank you for letting me know, Klutz. Dude, I would have, if I ever played First Officer against you, I would have my whole life I would have lived thinking, how did he know where I was? My whole life I would have lived like that. All right. I'm actually going to write that down because that's a big deal. That's a pretty darn big deal. that effectively means that the pocket watch buff was actually a nerf. Because the old pocket watch would be like a one-time use, but it lasted 20 seconds. This new pocket watch will only give you 20 seconds if they're within 10 meters. And 30 seconds if they're within 6 meters. So he used to have infinite range. Do you see? That's why I was confused. It used to be infinite. So yeah. Psyche, let me be in next McBusters. I'll give you all my money. Hey, I don't want money. I just want people to be there. I just want someone to be there for me. Hey, I could sponsor your channel. Not sponsor it. I guess I could link it in the description. Say thank you, Klutz, for helping this in this video. Top hunter, by the way. Go check him out, guys. Cord's gun is one of the longest stuns in the game. The reason it's not S tier is not because you only get one. I don't think Coordinator needs a second flare. The reason is because a lot of hunters do good against it. A lot of the best hunters do good against it, except Bonbon. Bonbon is the one exception. Maybe Knight as well. Knight's not too good against it either, let's be honest. But the other thing is it's a circumstantial ability. You need to be in an open area to guarantee get value out of it. If you're in areas with walls or trees, it's too risky to use. Seki, can I hug you? Can I hug you, Seki? Dude, Klutz, I thought you hated me, bro. I thought you hated going against me. I'm not gonna lie. Every time I face a good hunter, I just kind of assume that they hate me. I don't know why. 10 meters to 6 meters delay the image 2 seconds. Well, what about if you're outside the 10 meters? Is it still 1 second or is it nothing? People are telling me it's nothing. I had an A tier. Okay, I did not know that. You only get one flare for Cord, so I don't love it. It has its moments, and then you... Well, I guess I'm not going to read that comment anymore. It disappeared. It's like, yeah, I don't hate you. I love you. All right, we got to move on. We got 30 minutes left to do... How much stuff do we have left? We don't have that much. Only 20 items. All right. Oopsie, I clicked the Discord. Go join the Discord in the description. Free shout out. All right. I didn't mean to do that. Do you think Cord is good for late game rescue with gun? Maybe if the hunter hasn't switched from excitement for if the hunter already used their trump card, it's good. Otherwise, if they didn't use their trump card already, it's way too risky. And if you're nearby, the thing is, if it's late game and the hunter has attention and they have a tinnitus mark, they're not going to use trump card and teleport away. They're going to hold on to that trump card and just camp the chair out a little bit more. Only 20 items left. I would say no. You shouldn't hold on to your flare that long because it's very risky trying to do that late game strat. What's the first F item? The first F item was the flashlight. But they're in no specific order. None of these items are in any specific order. I'm not saying illusions are better than flares, and I'm not saying that flare is better than perfume, or that perfume is better than acrobat balls. They're all very good. No specific order. All right, I'm going to move on to barmaid bottles next. All right. So barmaid bottles used to be much worse, I guess, ever since they made... Oh, shoot, I still forgot to write down the myth before I forget. First officer's watch will have no delay outside 10 meters. All right. Barmaid, drink. They did a lot of buffs to Barmaid so that now if she takes 1/4 damage, she doesn't lose the health, I guess, which is okay, I suppose, but that doesn't fix the blink problem. I suppose flywheel, you could take flywheel and try to predict blink with the flywheel, which is not a bad strategy. It's just not a consistent strategy. Basically, it's kind of like with Doctor. Why should you pick an ability that only works when you get damaged? Because using an ability when you're already damaged is very risky, because then at that point, whatever happens within those 20 seconds, you have no control over. You don't have an item to help you. You can't even use your speed buff when you've already drinking your heal potion. At least if you had the speed bonus, that would be something at least, but you can't. At least I don't think. The drink is pretty average, usually below average. Usually I find the drink to be below average because it's very, very rare that I need people to heal me in a game. Get this. If your team is winning, if your survivor team is winning, you guys don't want to be healing. You guys want to be pressuring those ciphers. And having to waste extra time looking for the barmaid, usually barmaid is in some random spot of the map, and it's usually going to take you quite a bit of time to reach her, at least some time. I usually find that you could have just went to a closer survivor and healed and done it that way. The no underage drinker thing is also kind of annoying. I guess so. The thing is, it kind of confuses me because from a gameplay perspective, I never knew that Coordinator, Mind's Eye, well, I obviously know Little Girl is below underage, but you can't even tell Coordinator and Mind's Eye are underage. If Coordinator and Mind's Eye are underage, then why is Gardener not underage? It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not until the Barmaid bottle came out that I found out they're underage, because it specifically said you can't feed it to Mind's Eye and Coordinator. Little Girl did not exist at the time. Little Girl did not exist for a long, long time. Barmaid is a more mobile doc, but a rip-off psychologist. That is essentially what's going on here. It's just outclassed. Why would you pick a survivor that has the potential of healing over one that already has built-in extra health? So if Psychologist didn't exist, I would probably give it like 1 tier up, but because Psychologist exists, I really don't think it's all that great. You die to Blink when you drink this. You die to any long-range attacks. You basically need to raw kite for the next 20 seconds, and that's not too good. That's very risky to do. The Barmaid speed bottle is definitely more useful. It's definitely more reliable. It's at least average. It might be good. Honestly, I find that when I use it, it's actually pretty good. I usually find that it is pretty good when I use it. Like, it's just good. Depends what hunter you're going against, though. Make her drink sodas and serve them to everyone. Problem solved. Well, then she can't really be the barmaid. I love Barmaid speed drink because I play Joseph and they drink their speed drinks and I just insta-kill them. No. Psyche, I hope you didn't forget about Anne. Nope. Here she is. We also got the storage one. I also made this an item. It's not a very big item. It's probably like the least noticeable out of all survivor abilities, but it still exists. I think it's a big part of her ability kit anyway. Mind's Eye's 18, Coordinator's 21, Gardener's 22. I thought you were able to drink when you're 21. Whatever. Maybe it's a China thing that you have to be over 21. I think in the US you have to be 21 or older. But I guess in China it's over 21. I don't know. Honestly, this speed potion is all right. Maybe if you guys can convince me it's B tier, I might reconsider from average to good. But it's kind of like average because the meta is Penguin, Sculptor. If you drink this, you kind of just gave them a free chip hit. Because if they can hit you in the next 8 seconds, well, I guess it's not. I guess if you drink this against Bonbon, it's kind of difficult because you got a speed bonus, but it's only 2 seconds. I don't think it's enough, man. I think her maybe give her a second speed bottle, maybe make it longer. Honestly, I think quality is better over quantity here. If they made the quality of the bottle better, then that would be better. Because what's the point of giving more of a bottle that's not good? It's better to make the quality better of the speed drink than give her more speed boosts. It's situational. Agreed. It is situational. How are you going to be in a killing game but still can't drink? I don't know, man. Seems kind of sus. To me, it seemed like Gardener was always the youngest. Mind's Eye seemed older than Gardener. At least Mind's Eye seemed wiser. All right. Shovels are a pretty darn good item. They are pretty darn good. The reason I'm not going to put it S tier, though, is mostly because of Bonbon and Sculptor. Sculptor, not so much. Sculptor, it's actually not so bad against Sculptor. Shovels are still really, really, really good against Sculptor because you can kind of do what I talked about with Perfumer, and you could just use your shovels in open areas. But what's different about Perfumer and Shovel is that Shovel has an animation, and the Sculptor, if she predicts you correctly, she can actually cancel your shoveling animation. On top of that, push you towards her or push you to the side. And that's the one thing I'm always afraid of when I play Gravekeeper. Gravekeeper can counter Sculptor as long as you can pull it off in an open area. That is your best chance. But it is technically possible for the Sculptor to predict when you're about to shovel and just put a statue in front of you and push you while you're trying to dig down, and it'll cancel the shovel. And you'll feel very bad about it. Trust me. Trust me, you'll feel like your life is over. It's pretty good. It's basically 2 Seer Owls. The shovel lasts so ridiculously long. I don't know why it lasts so long. Gravekeeper is a very, very good survivor. He's a rescuer. He's difficult to kill. Even if you are playing as Penguin, he can be difficult to kill. The reason I just wouldn't put it in S tier because honestly, I find it's easier to use perfumes against. This might sound stupid, but I find it easier to use perfumes against Bonbon and Sculptor than it is to use shovels, because perfumes have no animation and you have more of them. And so perfumes, it makes much more sense as Perfumer to perfume away bomb hits than it does as Gravekeeper to shovel away bomb hits. What I like to do as Gravekeeper is if I ever get distance against a Bonbon, I will use the shovel to just stall. And once I get like halfway in my shovel, I will purposefully take a bomb hit. So that way, if the Bonbon starts getting closer to me, they're not able to just bomb hit me out of the shovel and then just basic hit me. So that way, I like try to take a bomb hit while I still have some space, or if they're behind a wall. And that's my opportunity to get hit, make him waste the bomb, and I'm able to get out of the shovels pretty quickly. The shovels go decently quickly. I disagree. I don't think the shovels go decently quickly. I played Gravekeeper for a long time. Ever since he came out, I've been confused why he never got a nerf, because I feel like his shovels were way too broken. Nowadays, they become more balanced, but that's because of Sculptor. He's still a really, really good survivor. Amazing survivor. Basement Gravekeeper is confirmed much better than Perfumer, but Perfumer is not a rescue character. That is something to think about. He was made to be a rescue character. That's why his abilities are much longer. That's why his abilities can do more. It's not good in kites because obviously the hunter can just fall down in your hole and possibly hit you. But it's very good when he's already above the ground and the hunter is below ground. I can't think of a possible situation where you want to drop down to the hunter unless it's basement. So that's really the only thing digging down is good for. If the hunter couldn't fall down the hole, it would be kind of broken. It would basically be a Priestess Portal that you couldn't pass through. Imagine people doing that like Big Bow, like they go to the front of Big Bow, like the middle of nowhere on Big Bow, and they just fall down, dig down, and the hunter can't pass through. That would be a very strong item. That would basically be like a Priestess Portal, but he's still a very good survivor. I think he's underrated. His ability is very strong. It's really just Bonbon. That's really just it. Bonbon and maybe Sculptor if she gets a lucky statue hit on you in the open when you're trying to shovel. Yeah. He does not need a nerf, please. Not anymore, but back when he came out, the best hunter in the game was Ripper. That's why I was convinced he needed a nerf. Like, the best hunters in the game were freaking Ripper. Ripper, how does Ripper get damaged? He has to waste his whole ability just to hit you out of the shovel. And since Ripper's attack speed is so slow, by the time you hit him out of the shovel, he can immediately drop the pal before he can swing at him again. So he literally often just sits by pallets, waits until he gets the Foggy Blade out. The Ripper, even if the Ripper gets no recovery Foggy Blade out, he'll just be able to drop the pal faster than he can hit him. But yeah, Gravekeeper is not meta, but he is a very good survivor. If you guys are looking for two rescuer combos, Gravekeeper is one of the best options to go. If Mercenary is banned or if Forward is banned, I see no problem running Gravekeeper. If you guys ban Sculptor, and like at that point your only problem is Bonbon, but even then, I don't think it's so bad. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Postman. Postman, I didn't put all his letters here because I feel like that would be too much. But Postman really only has two good letters. The Deco letter is obviously the best one. And the Dungeon letter is really nice late game for opening the gates much, much faster. It's a considerable increase. It's 14 seconds to open a gate instead of 20. The game says it's 18 seconds. I just call it 20 for simplicity. Either way, it's practically 14 seconds with the Deco letter. What's the standard here? Obviously, high tier rank survivor, but are they on comms? For the sake of rank match, we're saying no. You might have comms with one person, but otherwise, not really. Unless you do what I do sometimes. If I ever have a team of 4 players, we'll try to match at the same time together and just match at the same time. Why is Kane F? It's really helpful to know what the hunter is at the start of the game. The reason it's F is because when you use the hunter can hear where you used it. And so the hunter is just going to walk right to you and they're just going to kill you. And you're the weakest survivor in the entire game. Probably arguably the entire game. You're the weakest survivor in the game. Not just in your game, but out of all the survivors, probably the worst one you could pick in terms of kiting. You have an ability that shows you where the hunter is, but your ability comes at the cost of telling the hunter where you are. Any hunter using headphones, any good hunter who knows spawns as well, will be able to easily find out where you are. So it actually makes the cane unusable. Like if you use the cane, you're gonna die. That's why it is quite literally unusable. Like at least Gardener and the flashlights, the one you drop on the ground, they're not technically unusable. They have like 1% use in 1% of situations, but the cane is quite literally unusable. And the other thing, just learn spawn points. That's another thing. Why use cane? Just learn spawn points. I think the person meant like you can see who the hunter is. I think that's what they meant, which is true. You could see who the hunter is. I would just run Seer, or you could use Lawyer. Plus, Lawyer is safer. You can use your map without telling the hunter where you are. Also, Lawyer is actually a pretty good rescuer, but this is not about Lawyer. This is about his map. Because he can't get Terror Shock, so that's pretty nice. I have to say, the only 2 letters that are good. What drink are you drinking? Arizona half and half. Iced tea and lemonade. I really don't like the Postman, because the problem with Postman is that he only has really 2 good letters. The rescue letter is unnecessary. It's fine, but it's unnecessary. You really don't need it. The speed letter is okay. You're taking a big risk, assuming the person's not going to die while you're trying to send the letter. Can you skip ahead to bees? I would probably put bees in. It's hard to say because the problem is if you have bees, the reason I don't pick Entomologist is because of Blood Queen. I would probably put bees in A tier, but they're almost S tier. I wouldn't put. Well, actually, you can really do a number on camping. If you're not the one being chased, bees are really good against hunters trying to camp. You could push them and completely screw over the hunter. I guess maybe bees are S tier. The problem is I still wouldn't use Entomologist because dies to Blood Queen, but I guess that's a risky take. I just don't play Entomologist because of Blood Queen. That's why. But bees are very, very strong. But rank you ban 100% Blood Queen. You should not ban Blood Queen. Thank you. No problem, Orbit. Have a good rest of your day. I guess you just wanted to know, Entomologist. In rank you 100% ban Blood Queen. I wouldn't ban Blood Queen in rank because Blood Queen is one of the easiest hunters to kite if you pick the right survivors. Letters in A or B. I'm thinking B because the problem with letters is the decode letter is really, really good. But the problem is the decode letter overlaps with the rescue letter. So those of you who don't know how Postman works, Postman has 3 different letter slots. Postman has a left middle slot, a middle letter slot, and a right letter slot. The letters are technically not random. The decode letter will always show up in the middle. And so does the rescue letter. So there's a 50% chance you get decode, 50% chance you get rescue. I think at the beginning of the game, you're guaranteed to get a decode letter though. So that's solid. But after that, you're depending on luck to get another decode letter. I don't remember what the left and right letters are, but either way, both of them are circumstantial and both of them are easily replaceable with some other survivor ability. It's really just the decode letter. That's the only thing. I talked about this earlier with the Lawyer map, how Lawyer doesn't start with a decode bonus, but he gradually gains it up and it eventually becomes a permanent 20%. Unlike with Postman, who can give two people 20% increased decoding, but it's temporary. And on top of that, he has a huge letter cooldown of like 70 seconds. And if you don't get the decode letter in those 70 seconds again, then you have to wait another 70 seconds for the decode letter, and it gets over the top really quickly. So it's a less consistent version of Lawyer's decoding. Really, the other letters are really not that good. The free broken windows letter is really good as well. It's okay. Usually, this is just from my experience, but usually it's not that helpful for me because usually what happens is once you get really good at the game, I find that you get pretty good at subconsciously switching between vaulting over pallets and vaulting over windows. Because as a good survivor, you'll recognize that I don't have a window boost. I already used my window boost, so I'm going to try to prioritize pallet boost now. And that way you kind of switch between the two one at a time. So that way you always have at least one of those boosts every once in a while. And so usually I will never get to use one of that window/palette boost letter because I'm always switching between the two. I'm usually now reusing the same window. I will say though, it's probably the third best letter. Like if I were to give a letter ranking, that window boost letter is probably the third best letter. it's still really good. I just find that I usually don't ever get to use it because either I die, or I'm already in a fine situation where I don't even need it. So yeah. The cooldown is 60 seconds, isn't it? It's weird because it used to be 50 seconds. Then they increased it to 60 seconds, and they buffed a few of the letters. They buffed the decode letter to be 30 seconds, I think, but it was still 10% increased decode. Sorry, no. They buffed the letter. It used to be, I think the decode letter used to be 15 seconds and then increased decode by 10%. And then they buffed it to increase decode by 20% for 15 seconds. And then they buffed it again for 30 seconds instead of 15 seconds. Wick is the best. Obviously, for the memes, Wick is S tier. A literal dog attacks the hunter for you. Come on. We'll talk about Wick in a little bit. This is the dog that Postman uses to use the hunter. At the time, Postman also didn't have this dog, Wick. This also came in a later buff. Postman did not used to always have this dog. It had to be given as a buff eventually. What was I talking about? I forgot what I was talking about. Wick is SSS tier. We need a 7th tier just for Wick. Video idea, maybe talking about ways to improve items in the lower tiers. Oh, that would be cool. I have a video idea. I don't know there's much point though, because I rather focus on like what already exists in the current guides already. Wick is life. Go Wick, you're the best. I don't really. Maybe I will make a future Wick category. Can I make one right now? Can I make a Wick category right now? I don't want people to think that Wick is the best though. Wick is pretty good. Wick is pretty good. Sorry, oops, no, Wick doesn't go there. Wick is pretty good. I wouldn't say very good, but he can be really helpful. He can be really helpful. Like let's consider who you're using Wick with. You're using Wick as a decoder, generally a decoder, if you get lucky. And the fact that this slows down the hunter, I think this slows down the hunter more than the mud ball now. So I think it's also longer than the mud ball after Acrobat's nerf. So Wick is decent. The problem is that Wick is very easy to dodge. So I'm not a big fan of Wick. I will say though that you can definitely use Wick if the hunter is vaulting a window or destroying a pallet. Those are great times to use Wick because the moment they break that pallet, your dog, like let's say you see the hunter breaking a pallet, so you launch your dog after the hunter. By the time the hunter finishes breaking the pallet, that's usually about when Wick reaches the hunter. So you'll usually get the full value the moment they finish breaking the pallet. Wick is a she. Why is everything got to be a she? Guys, this is the most hideous bulldog I have ever seen. What the heck even is this? A pit bull? They're hideous. Look at this. Guys, they're hideous. It's obviously a he. My goodness. Oh my gosh, that might be offensive. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Wick is an epic girl boss. Hey, Psyche, what are your thoughts if Merce had more elbow pads like in the past when you had a lot? Hey, I wouldn't mind it. I'm a survivor, mate. But he should not have more elbow pads. He's fine with 3. Wick is a he or a she? I don't know. Okay, let's move on to prisoner. Okay, don't get me wrong though. Like I don't know. Sometimes Wick gets A tier value. Other times the hunter just dodges it and it was more of like a distraction to like get the hunter like move to the side and at least buys you a little bit of time. And then you're not, even if you miss, you're not on a big cooldown. So it's not like you have a big punishment for missing with Wick. Remember Wick can get hunters on the way back. So it's hard to dodge on ever sleeping. True. I did know he can go backwards. The problem is that's just one map. And on top of that, any good hunter will be like, okay, I gotta move to the side. I can't because if a hunter moved away to the side after the first time Wick ran after you, then they're going to stay on the side as the Wick is going to come back. They're always going to make sure they're not directly in front of, behind you. So that way Wick is not going to come back and bite them in their behind. What should I buy next? I bought Batter. It depends which survivor you don't have. Any of the A or S tier survivors are good. Consider buying Perfumer, Seer. Coordinator is good against Bonbon, but not really much else. Insanely good against Bonbon, I should say. Rabies. All right, I'm going to move on to the prisoner. Look, this is a fine ability. The problem is that it's very easily replaceable. This is the problem with the glove, the decode blocks. It's very easily replaceable. You can finish a rescuer cipher And that's about all this connection is good for. The only person who can really use this is Prisoner. Technically, other survivors can use it, but they usually won't. If the Prisoner is the one dying or getting chased, this ability is almost useless for the rest of the team. They're not going to send decode to each other. Typically because they don't already have a decode buff themselves. So if they send decode, unless it's to a cipher that's almost done, which must be the rescuer cipher, they're not going to be sending decode. At best, this will finish a rescuer cipher. But the reason I don't like this ability is because it just doesn't give enough for the rest of your team. It's fine with Prisoner. With Prisoner, it's fine. It's good. It's good. It's not like it doesn't give value, but it's not very good. It's not like something that I would prioritize in rank. I would never prioritize Prisoner in rank. I would never prioritize it in tournaments. I would pick Mechanic over Prisoner in tournaments if I want to tie. And like even when Prisoner is getting chased, this becomes extremely bad. Extremely bad. The survivors are not going to be sending energy to each other at that point. I wish survivors got an incentive, like to combine to go to Prisoner ciphers. I think maybe this is not a good idea, but I think Prisoner needs a buff, and I think Prisoner should have the ability to have. Let's say he connects to someone's cipher. That person, anyone who's decoding on a connected cipher, gets a 10% decode buff themselves as well. Not just the Prisoner, but also the person. I think that would give Prisoner also extra value, so that way when he's being chased, he's not just dead weight on the team. So I would really like that. That would be a pretty cool buff for Prisoner. Otherwise, it's just like good. I don't like good and average. Could someone give me a better word instead of like, give me a word that's like slightly average, but something that I don't have to write so much. Because slightly below average is way too much to write in there. Prisoner glove ring C. Chase that skinwalker away. The glove is okay. Honestly, the glove is fine. It's good when Prisoner is alive, but it's not that good. It's not that good. That's all I gotta say. It's mediocre at best. Oh, mediocre. Mediocre. Thank you. What a great idea. Mediocre. Honestly, that sounds a lot like Prisoner's glove. That sounds like Prisoner's connection box. That sounds like a pretty... Maybe I should move the chat down. Hey, I think that's a better idea. Oh, maybe I should move the chat higher? Well, no, now it gets in the way of the tiers. I think it's better that we have the chat in the way than me in the way. All right. So, well, now it looks really awkward. Stun is probably C or D. It is literally one of the worst items in the game. Now, to be fair, it's a decoder, so we can't have... You're surprised the whistle is F tier? The whistle is not in any tier right now. We didn't get to it. Look, I understand that it's a decoder, but that doesn't change the fact that the item itself is kind of weak. It's basically the same as an Enchantress Stun. It's not that good. At least Enchantress can continuously get it back during kites. Prisoner is kind of stuck with like that one. Like there's almost no way you're getting another one mid kite, unless the hunter just leaves up that Prisoner box while you're kiting, which usually they will not. F, not D. I wouldn't say it's F because it's still usable. It's still quite usable, and it could save you from a hit. Like Diamond said, it could save you from a hit. So it's usable. So it's D. Especially on like Prisoner. You just have to be careful that you don't use it right next to like windows or pallets, because the animation will stop you from interacting with the pallet or window. That's the one thing about it that I would like suggest to people. It's one use and very technical. You can do stuff with it, but it's rough. That's pretty much sums it up. It exists. It exists. That's my way of summing it up. Entomologist Bees. This one is hard to say. If we're talking from a rank perspective, it's probably A tier. But if you have comms with people, even one person, and you combine it on rescue as well, it can very well be S tiers, because then you can the moment the hunter hits someone and they're stuck in recovery, you can start pushing them for free with bees, and that's basically like a flare gun, sometimes better than a flare gun, depending on how far you can keep pushing them. And so I'm gonna give it S simply because it can push the hunters around on rescues. But in terms of kiting alone, I would put it A's, because it's okay. Some hunters do well against it. Most do not do well against bees, so it's definitely A at the very least. But if you use it for support, For survivors, it is a definite S. So the support value with the Entomologist Bees is crazy good. It's just hard to use in rank. It's hard to do in rank because you don't have comms with everyone usually. But you can still pull it off without comms. That's the nice thing. It's also good at transition Kai. It's not good against Blood Queen. That's the one thing I have about it is like that's why I won't pick Entomologist. All right, painting. Painter's painting. All right. It's fine. Painter's painting is fine. The reason, like, once you get a painting, it's really good. But the problem with Painter is just like Enchantress. You start with 0. You start with 0, and it's going to take you time to get one. And now, to be fair, it's not as hard to get a painting as it is to get an Enchantress Stun, but that is still a great opportunity for the hunter to hit you with an ability. That means you're going to have to dodge the ability, or you're going to have to be in a good area. And that depends. A lot of good areas are around tall walls, so you're not even going to be able to get the hunter's appearance a lot of the time. It's fine. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think about painting? Because the problem with painting is that hunter can also look away. So it's not good if you're not the one being chased. But if you are the one being chased and a hunter keeps looking away from your painting, you can actually just hug your painting and force the hunter to look at the painting. So like just stand next to the painting. If you see the hunter is looking away from the painting and they're not getting attracted, go to your painting and force them to look at you. Because if they look at you, they'll also look at the painting. So on kites, it's really solid, but anywhere else, you're not going to get value with the painting. The fact that you start with 0 is a pretty big deal as well. The fact that you start with straight up 0 paintings, that you have to make them over time. It's usually just asking for the hunter to hit you at least once. What does this do? Oh shoot! I'm moving things around. Oh god, how do I fix this? Oh, there we go. All right, I was messing around. I didn't know you could do that. All right, it's a fine ability. Once you get the painting, it's A tier, but you run a huge risk picking painting. I feel like once you start placing the paintings, it can be really good. It's just like you fall really behind at the start. I could consider A tier. You think C, Avery? You think C, mediocre? I think it's a little bit better than these other items we have in mediocre tier. It's definitely a little bit better than that. For rescue, it's good too. It is actually, it's not good for rescues because no hunter is going to be looking at you as a painter. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like if you're not the one being chased, it's not good. Will you do one of these for hunters? That would be really, really complicated because a lot of hunters have multiple abilities. Like, do we count, like, what if, like, let's say Geisha, for example. Geisha has an upgraded version of her dash. Does that count as one ability or 2 abilities? What about Witching? Like, Witching's umbrella definitely counts as 2 separate abilities. But what about the full presence? His full presence is the same as his low presence, but an upgraded version. So of course it's going to be better. It's hard to say. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about doing it with traits. You think A tier, Rev? A tier, C tier. It's weird. Clerk's Eagle View counters painting. Well, of course, the same with Sculptor, since you're not right next to the painting. Hunter tier list. Let's go. Long range hunters can counter it. Yeah, that's also true. The thing about long range hunters is a good painter. Well, once the painting happens, they'll stand by the painting just to make sure that even when you get closer up, you get attracted to the painting. But that's exactly the problem. You have to let the hunter get closer to guarantee that you get value out of the painting, which is a little bit bad. Also, hi Saki, I haven't been to your streams. I've been busy. I started working. No problem, Michaela. Hope you have been having a good day, though. A restful evening from work. Hope you've been doing fine. He can do a lot when he has his painting. True. He can do a lot when he has his painting. But the problem is, like, how do you get the painting without taking damage? His first painting should be painted already since he came out a long time ago. I don't know. That's a little bit much because once you give him one painting to start off with, that's basically giving him like half his abilities, which are, by the way, designed. His abilities are specifically designed to be stronger because he doesn't start with anything. All right, moving on. Oh shoot, we're behind. Moving on. We got the cricket ball. This is a pretty good item. It's not as good on kites, admittedly, because it's kind of hard to hit the hunter in the middle of a kite since the ball takes time to travel and it's not really very fast. It's still really good because it's basically like a football. This is a survivor who carries an item that prevents the hunter from doing what they want to do. So similar to football, the problem with the cricket ball is that the uncharged version is that you'll be able to save the survivor, but it just stalls for a few seconds, and that's about it. But it buys time so that you can use your rage, which I think the rage is S tier, because the rage is just like a football. But one day you can use from far. It also increases your pallet drop and vaulting bonus, which is pretty good. Like once you have the rage and the hunter is right next to a wall, the fact that you also have a long distance, like where you can shoot the ball from far as opposed to forward who has to get up close, it makes you safe from stuff like excitement. It makes it so that if you're afraid of the hunter using some sort of ability, you also have that extra distance to work with instead of having to be up close. The problem with the thing about the batter and forward is that they both kind of end up being in the same distance away from the hunter. It's just forward immediately dashes to the hunter. Batter is definitely a lot safer. The cricket ball I'd say is low A or high B. I would say it's low A just because it still prevents the hunter from doing what they want. You see, if it weren't for... You see, the reason I'm ranking this A is because of Rage. Rage gets rid of the cooldown when you use this. Batter did not used to have this ability. Like, when I think I made a Batter guide a long time ago. You guys will see in my Batter guide, there was no decreased cooldown. Like, when you used Rage, they didn't get rid of the cooldown off the bat. So it meant that you just kind of had to activate Rage right away, which made it so that you can't reuse your cricket balls very often, which means you get less reusability as opposed to like a football where you can use it multiple times. As opposed to like a cricket ball, if you have to use stun right away, you're not getting as much value. You're going to get like maybe 3 stuns, maybe. Without Rage, cricket is B, but usually you will have Rage. Usually you will have Rage, so you're going to be using the regular one and then combining it with the Rage. Sometimes you might just do the Rage right away if they're already right next to a wall and like But that's the thing. I like it because it's reusable. And if the Rage didn't get rid of the cooldown, Rage would be worse. The regular batter would be B. Will you do one of these for duo hunters? For duo hunters, like what are the best survivor abilities? Or like for duo hunters, what are the best like potions, stuff to buy? That's really interesting. I never played Survivor though. I should consider it. Thank you for the idea. I don't think I'm the best candidate though, because I never play. What's up, Music Man? We're kind of behind schedule. These are the last few abilities. Let's move on to Hook now. All right. I don't want to spend too much time on these. All right. Patient Hook. I think it's a pretty easy S tier. I think it is pretty easy S tier. There are certain areas in the game where he's just utterly broken. We're not talking like a little bit broken. Like it's not like a Prospector thing where Prospector like sometimes has amazing areas where like on Big Bow or like on some sort of stairs, like he'll knock the hunter off. No. This is like utterly like there's no chance you're catching him. And even if he's not in those areas, he's very good. This is why I put Prospector Magnet in B and like other abilities in S. It's because those S abilities work in almost every area of the map, almost every single area of the map. Perfumer would be S if you were always in an area with like second floors. But you're not always going to be in an area full of second floors. So Perfumer, because of that, is usually worse than something like Patient Hook. Because Patient Hook can give you that distance against stuff like Bomb where you really need it. He can also jump over walls, jump over windows that otherwise he would have had to waste time vaulting over. There are maps that he's completely broken on. There are maps that he's not broken on and he's still insanely good. He's just really good at transition. He's really good at what he does. I wouldn't be surprised if they made him have 2 hooks, honestly, and he would still be pretty decent. Good time, 5:06. Wow, you're watching at 5:06 a.m. See ya, Sierra. Sierra. Yeah. All right. As opposed to Psychologist, the Whistle is okay. The Whistle's fine. It's just like the Whistle. The problem with the Whistle is it's not really good for kiting. You're really just relying on your health. And you need to send health to... if you ever need to send health to other people, you can, but it's usually not worth it unless you already had some built-in extra health that you're not going to use. Like, let's say the gates are almost primed, the ciphers are almost primed, and you have this extra health that's not going to matter because the hunter's going to have detention. You may as well send it. But it's hard to say. Sometimes it's really important to send health. Other times it's a big risk because then you end up getting chased. Mine says like a dinner bell to the hunter. I know, right? It's weird. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I don't know. It's either A or it's B. I usually find that it's B. Every once in a while, you'll get amazing value out of this. I mean, if you have a forward on your team, though, it's really good. If you have a forward, it's really good because then that even if that forward gets injured, you'll get an insanely good value. So that's really nice. Man, I have a lot to say about little girls' abilities, though. I have a lot to say about that. Psychologist heals pretty good after the rescuer needs healing after first rescue. It's good, but sometimes though the rescuer doesn't even go for the first rescue though. Maybe they'll go for like a rescue after half. In a rank, I would honestly recommend going before half because usually what ends up happening is Hunter just goes to someone else and starts pressuring their cipher. Maybe like in tournaments, I would maybe also recommend that. Whistle is better than Doblin and Syringe. That's definitely a fact, but how often are you going to send help to people? You think C or below? It's definitely not C, because if for rescuers, it's really good. It's also really good for people who, I'm just thinking like if someone at any point, I don't know, if someone at any point gets injured, but manages to somehow get away from the Hunter, Psychologist can heal them up. just giving a little bit of ideas here. I think it's B. It's not very often you'll get amazing value like that. It's just good. It's good. It's a good backup. I think that's a good way to put it. It's a great backup. But you're not gonna always be able to get amazing value out of it. But still, it's something. It's something for sure. It's there just to like help you out if you need it. Really, that's about it. Hold up, I need to make this bigger because you guys can't see anymore. Now, guys, I'm trying to make it so you guys can see the upcoming stuff. When she gets chaired, well, yeah, it is pretty bad when she gets chaired. You're right. Well, the thing is, if she gets chaired, she's really gonna need to. You know what? Let's do this. Oh, this is much better. Well, now we have this dead space in the corner. Not so great. No, I don't know how to fix it. All right. Well, I'm sure you guys will be fine with that. Maybe it needs to be a little bit smaller so you guys can see. Yeah, there we go. That's a little bit better. Hey, now my face cam can go down there. Boom. And you guys can go down here as well. Maybe I'll keep you guys up there, actually. The only time you use her cane is if you're a second storage, like hospital, and then even Hunter comes after you, they force you to go hospital. Well, that's more of like a map thing, not really a mind's eye ability thing. All right. This, on the other hand, I've never really thought about this, but the more I think about it, this is a stronger ability than I realize. Because Blood Queen is really the only thing that kills Little Girl. But even if it's not Blood Queen, even if it's Sculptor, I haven't realized this, but it's not terrible. It's not super great, of course, because the Hunter can still use walls, but that doesn't mean you're not getting distance. You're still getting pushed back using the page. Honestly, it's weird. It's weird because I've never thought about it like this, but the more I think about it, Little Girl's page is still very good. I mean, think about it. Think about when Little Girl first came out. The radius was huge. But nowadays, the radius is 6 meters. That's a diameter of 12 meters. That's 1/3 of the Hunter's tear radius. That's still a huge range that the Hunter is going to be affected by the page. So I've also been seeing people talk about Little Girl in tournaments. It's interesting because now that I think about it, her ability really isn't that bad if you're going against stuff like Wheel. Because if you're going against stuff like Wheel, the moment they get out of Wheel, you drop your page, you push them back, you give some space to work with. Really, the biggest problem with Wheels is that they come out of Wheel right next to you. And the fact that you're able to push them away is really nice with the page. So it's kind of a Hunter-specific thing. You can make it work. Pages maybe C. I think the pages are actually better than people think. Now, it's hard for me to say because I haven't played Little Girl a lot. But now that I've been seeing people utilizing Little Girl, I've realized that I think there are still a lot of great ways to use this because it's not like Music Box. It's not like Dancer's Music Box where Dancer's Music Box will just slow that Hunter down. This will literally push them back. This forces the hunter to stay back is the other thing. Even if this doesn't push the hunter, this still forces the hunter to stay back. And so I want to test this out. I think pages are better than people realize. I do think that, honestly. This chat is too small, by the way. How about make it this size? I do think pages have some more use than people realize. Maybe I might be overestimating them, but I do think there is something that I'm just not seeing here. And I think pages are better than people realize. Most hunters leave you because of it. Oh, I didn't see what she said. I lost a match in Moonlit when the little girl teleported away before I got to reach her for first kite at bridge spawn. Now this ability, on the other hand, this is not the teleport. This is the teleport. Now I'll get to this one in a second, but this one is definitely S tier because the thing about this ability, especially in 4-person team comps, like maybe you have 4 people with you, maybe you don't. Even if you don't have 4 people with you, I find that all you have to do is see the hunter's shadow. All you have to do is get key spawn, and you know where the hunter is. And if you know you're gonna get chased, or let's say you spawn top broken on church, or you spawn at bridge on moonlit, or you spawn in a tent, because if you get a tent spawn, the hunter almost always goes to tent. Because if you spawn on the stage, that means hunter got broken carousel, and they'll usually go tent. If you got in front of the tent, there were 2 spawns in front of the tent. And either one, both spawns, hunter is guaranteed to spawn at working carousel, and they'll both also go there. And so this teleport essentially screws over the hunter's late game because it's basically like finding a mercenary, except worse because you don't even get a chance to chase them. It's obviously a lot worse. This ability is obviously a lot worse if you don't have communication. But I want you guys to also think about this. What happens when you start having stuff like assist characters, stunners, with your team comp? What happens when you start having coordinator flare guns involved? When you stun the hunter for just 6 seconds, Little Girl just takes a window boost or a pallet boost after the stun, gets out of those 32 meters. Can Little Girl actually use the teleport in Tide Turner? I'm not actually sure. I think the answer is no. So that's not so much, but you can definitely pull it off with Entomologist Bees. There's a lot to unpack here, but this is mostly just broken for early game. Just to guarantee the hunter does not have a good chase in a good area for them. Like if you spawn in a terrible area, hunter's not going to be able to get it. You just teleport away. I think, but that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. I think people need to time the pages correctly. I think people need to time it more correctly. Force the hunter to get closer to you before you drop those pages. But don't drop it so late that the hunter can just cross the page and then get pushed towards you. I think with proper timing, Little Girl's pages can be a force to be reckoned with. So yeah, that's something to think about. Maybe I'll start using Little Girl more often in my rank matches because people have been throwing me the idea, Psyche. People have been using Little Girl in IVL. What do you think about that? And at first I'm like, that seems weird. Little Girl dies to Blood Queen heavily. But the more I realize it, the more I'm like, even if it's Blood Queen, she could just teleport away. Does that work? Oh yeah, it does work because the Blood Queen has an 8-second cooldown on her mirror. Ooh, okay. Okay, so you can actually teleport away before the Blood Queen can even mirror on you. You have to do it quickly, though, because if you do it too late, she can mirror on you and then hit you out of the teleport. So it's definitely weird. It's weird. All right, this ability, though, it's just good. This ability is good, and the reason I'm not going to put it very good is because it's kind of situational. You can't really afford to do this early game. And the reason you can't really do this early game is because if you do this early game, you're gonna start you're gonna need a second survivor to do the work for you. And now what you're doing is now you're depending on your other 2 teammates to be able to do the other ciphers as you're attached to like a mercenary. Even if you're attached to a mercenary doing the kiting, because let's say you're more vulnerable. Little Girl is almost always more vulnerable than mercenary. I don't know in which situation mercenary is less powerful than Little Girl. But Little Girl is almost always going to be attaching to someone stronger than her. But that doesn't change the fact that that's still one more person that's not decoding anymore. And so I think it gets better as the game progresses. As the game progresses, it gets better. But didn't IBL players sync at the 5 ciphers? I'm kind of talking more about it as in kiting. I don't know about using it to sync with people. I think I see what you're saying. Like, why would they sink? I think the reason why they sink is because that's one less person the hunter can chase. Although that's two people they're chasing at the same time. So now all they need to do is find the person with the little girl. Okay, it's kind of a risky play. Okay, here's the thing, guys. I don't suggest you guys copy everything in IVO because those players do those things under very specific circumstances. So, for example, if you sync to someone and then that person you sync to starts getting a heartbeat, well, now the hunter is definitely going to go after that person because they're chasing two people at the same time. But it also means that the hunter now has less people to find at ciphers. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend syncing at the beginning. I think it gets better as the game progresses. But in terms of like early game, it's bad. But in terms of late game, it gets better. So maybe here it's high B. It's high B. I don't have a tier for high B, but you guys are just gonna have to trust me. It's I would say it's high B. It's pretty weak at the beginning of the game because you really need people to stay on ciphers. It's faster to sync on a cipher than double decode at a single cipher. True, but it's also faster to just do a different cipher than double decode P, you know? Why not? Why flare gun, not S? Why? Because I understand a lot of people may overrate flare gun because of its amazing stun. No other ability in the game can stun as long as a flare gun can under such circumstances from a range as well. The reason it's not as good is mostly because we're talking about a high level here. So in low tier, if you're gonna face stuff like, I don't know, like Cleric, Lizard, this is obviously really good because they don't have anything against flare gun. But if you're gonna face high tier hunters, they're gonna be using stuff like Sculptor, Dream Witch, Blood Queen. All three of those hunters do pretty good against Coordinator. Sculptor mostly because she can block the flare gun with the statues, so it's really risky. Dream Witch because she can have two leeches at the same chair. And Blood Queen, she can just mirror you from a distance so that you never get value with the gun. And even if you flare gun the Blood Queen, unless it's during a mirror, unless you flare gun them while they're trying to hit you with a mirror, if you do it before they use their mirror, they're just going to mirror on you after you use the flare gun. Can you put the sync decode versus double decode in Mythbuster? I mean, I thought that was a little bit more obvious, since technically the game gives both players like a 30% decrease decode debuff. But I guess the game never says that it gives. Well, it does, but it doesn't say a number. If you guys double decode, it actually gives both people a decode debuff by like 20%, 25%, 30%. I don't know. It's hard to do the math because there's two people on the cipher. So technically the cipher will finish faster. So then how am I supposed to calculate the percent of each individual survivor? Because they're combining together at the end of the day. So it's not something I can calculate the percent of unless I look in the game files and it'll tell me. But I'll definitely put it down. Double decoding is memory sync with little girl decodes ciphers faster than. So like I see why some people in IVL would do that because it's safer. It's safer to have like 3 people on ciphers than 4 people on ciphers because that's an easier time for the hunter to find someone. But if you guys go for 4 people on 4 different ciphers, then when one person gets chased, you guys still have progress on 3 other ciphers, as opposed to 2. Because you guys will have 3 people on 3 ciphers, but one of them is going to get chased, so then you'll really only have 2. Decode ciphers faster than 2 people decoding. All right, I wrote that down. We'll definitely have that for future Mythbusters. That's a pretty good one as well. I have so many. I have too many Mythbusters. This is like worth like 7 Mythbuster videos at this point. All right. Novelist Notebook. It's pretty sad. It's kind of like Flashlight, how you can only record the appearance when the hunter is facing you. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to record the appearance. So the same thing goes for Tall Walls. If there's Tall Walls blocking, you're not going to be able to get value out of this ability. It's not bad. It's not bad. The reason it's not good is because you don't start with anything. If you at least start with like 50% progress, that would be something. But since you start with 0, you're probably going to get hit by the time you get like some progress. And even if you get this out before they kill you, they'll have a blink ready for you. They'll have all that good stuff ready. And after that, you'll have nothing off of chair. You'll have nothing to rebound with. It's gonna take another hit to get this thing started. I don't even think you can. I think you can get this with Tide Turner. It's just when you get hit in Tide Turner, it doesn't count anymore. Novelist is annoying when there's another harasser. True. Novelist is annoying when there's another harasser, but that still requires 2 people. It's not good to have a survivor on your team that's only good if another thing is true. Like, oh, Prospector is good if you have a big bow and you magnet them to the side and they fall off. Or Novelist is good if you have a harasser so that they can keep building up pages. I think there is potential here with the book, but it just falls short. It falls short, honestly. It falls short. In Tide, he can use it even after being hit. I don't know why you would use it after being hit, but I was talking about gaining progress on the book. If let's say you don't have the book, let's say you still need to reach 100%, and you don't have enough yet, right? Then if you get hit in Tide turn, do you still get progress? I don't think so. What is wrong with my hair? Novelist is weirdly decent against Sculptor. Is it just the Sculptor I went against that was bad? It's probably that you went against a messed up Sculptor, because at the end of the day, you have no abilities to help you with the statue. So any good Sculptor is going to wait until you drop a pallet, and then that's a guaranteed chip hit. Or if you vault the window, if you vault anything, a good Sculptor will be able to hit you off of that. Can Novelist use the abilities of survivors he trades bodies with? Yes, I think he can. This ability, though, I think there is potential here. There is potential, but right now it's kind of mediocre, because a lot of the times, if you're not the one kiting, you're not going to have a Novelist book. Like, it's really good if you can get it when someone else is kiting, but how are you going to get it? It's going to be really hard. You usually just end up wasting your team's time too much to make this worth it. So I don't like it. If you can combine it with someone else's kite, it's really, really good, but you usually end up taking hits or you don't get it at all. So I don't think it's that good. It's at best, it's mediocre. You have to look at Hunter's face. That's exactly true. So if someone else is getting chased, you're usually looking at the Hunter's back. Let's be honest here. If you're not the one being chased and you're trying to catch up to the Hunter. Does Novelist get the other person's persona? Yes, they do. I think. All right. As opposed to this ability, guys, I think this is going to be our last and final F tier unusable item. You get a 3-second speed boost for 3 seconds for 50% when you switch bodies. But the problem is that you usually don't have enough time to think about where should I go with these 3 seconds. Because the thing about this Novelist thing is that it gives you an incentive to switch. But after those 3 seconds, there is no incentive to keep your body anymore. I don't know why the 3 seconds happens at the beginning, because usually the 3 seconds is not going to go to use very well, just because you have to spend time thinking like, okay, where is the Hunter? Which area should I go in? You have to you see, because you're not in the survivor's perspective right away. I did try this ability. I did try Novelist, and I try to make this work, guys. I try to make this ability work. The fact They did buff it. They buffed it so that you can spectate the survivor to see what area they're in before they accept it. It's like Seer Owl. Like, you guys know how you can send a Seer Owl, but you can still spectate to make sure you're sending it at the right time. With this, they made it so that you can see, the devs made it so you can see where the survivor is now, so that you at least have some time to think. But the problem is that some people accept it right away, so I don't even have time to think about where to go. So it's like it doesn't even matter. It's like, are you buying that Link Clink event skin for Wusheng? No, I don't think so. I have no idea what that is, but I usually don't buy skins in the shop. Why does this exist? I don't understand it. There needs to be some other incentive. I don't know, like maybe a consistent speed buff. Like instead of 50% right at the beginning, why not like a consistent 10% speed buff the entire time? How about that? I think that would be better, because then you're not wasting your whole boost on just trying to figure out where you are. So this definitely needs a buff. It's unusable. It's unusable for the reason that if people accept it, you usually don't know where to go even at first, and a lot of the times people don't even accept your page. That's the other reason why it's not. It's like he shows your muscles. Oh, look at those muscles, guys. Totally not faking it. You think Novelist in comms is B or A tier? to be honest. I think there's potential. Like, there is potential. Don't get me wrong. There is potential. But it falls short. It falls short. Think about it. You have 4 survivors on your team. You can only pick 4 survivors. 4. Who are you going to put on your team of 4 survivors? They all have to be intrinsically good. They can't just be good when you combine with other stuff, because you're not always going to have that other stuff. They have to be good all the time. I don't think Novelist was supposed to be viable. He's just a fun, free character. Novelist is not fun. Just for the sorry, I didn't mean that. Novelist is not free. Right now, he's not fun either. Novelist is not free, for the record. You had to play the event to make it free. And just because a character is free doesn't mean it should be bad. I completely disagree with that logic. I think starter characters should be good. Even the Novelist is technically not a starter character. You had to be playing during the event, because now it costs money. Well, technically clues. This ability is awful. All right, this is Weeping Clown's ability. They technically buffed it so that he has like a slight speed boost, and maybe you'll get away. Maybe you'll get away with this. Honestly, I find that half the time I just end up getting blinked, hit by a bomb, hit by a statue. This rocket is way too slow. This is kind of like it's just too slow. That's exactly what I'm thinking. It's too slow, and they usually just snipe you. They just usually snipe you with in the middle of a rocket. It's just not good. A lot of hunters also travel fast, especially Geisha. Like Geisha now more than ever is one of the more popular hunters. You're gonna get your butt kicked if you go against Geisha. Psyche, will you be matching profiles with Genesis? Give an essay on it. I will not be matching profiles with Genesis. I was so excited for Weeping Clown, and then his ability fell short. So they did not give him the right buff. They actually did give him a buff that I was suggesting. They gave him the buff. Like when he first came out, I was like saying, dude, this guy sucks. You know what he needs? He needs the ability to dash forward temporarily, really quickly. And that would make him decent. Well, guess what? They did it, and they did it terribly. They did it so terribly, man. It lasts for 0.2 seconds. It's so sad. It's really bad. Such a cool character. It's such a cool backstory as well. Cool backstory, relates to Clown, the hunter. I gotta be honest here, guys. So far, the devs have really been sucking it up with the survivors and hunters that have backstories with their hunter or survivor counterpart. Professor is okay. He's not bad. He's just okay. Weeping Clown is terrible. Novelist sucks. Nightmare sucks. They need to do a better job with these characters. And do you think persona webs would affect this tier list? Generally speaking, no, because most of these survivors are not going to be dependent on persona webs. Typically speaking, maybe Wildling is going to have. Well, it used to be that Wildling had Spectator, but now Spectator is not a thing. So Wildling is not even going to have the up build anymore. Generally speaking, no, because every hunter is going to have borrowed time. Every survivor is going to have borrowed time. So at that point, the survivor can only have Tide Turner and Broken Windows. And really, neither of those abilities really depend on your abilities. They're just good abilities on their own. In fact, Tide Turner. In fact, to get value out of Tide Turner, you sometimes need your own abilities to be good. That's why I guess in some ways you're right. A survivor has to have good abilities a good movement abilities to have Tide Turner. So in some ways you're right, but they won't be affecting it in the ways we're thinking of, mostly kiting. All right, we talk a little bit about rescuers if they have a rescue ability. But stuff like Perfumer, not exactly a rescue character. You can definitely use it as a rescue ability to stall, but not exactly. Weeping Clown's rockets gets the ability to kill characters with. All right. I'm going to move on to catapults now. Wait, can I know the reason for Kane being F? Just curious. I should put this in the description at this point because I've answered this 5 times. No worries. I understand you're coming to the stream just now. The reason is because it's a walking, your ability is a walking bell to the hunter. Every time you use every time you use the cane, the hunter can hear which direction you use the cane from. So think about it. You are the weakest survivor in the game, not just in your game, but in the entire game. Out of all the survivors you could pick, you are playing the weakest survivor in the game in terms of kiting, and your ability literally reveals your location. Any hunter with headphones, dude, I don't even wear headphones. I can still find Mind's Eyes. You're just using the device sound, without headphones. So it's really bad because it just makes it so that the hunter just finds you right away. So it literally is unusable because if you use it, you're probably gonna die. I understand like, oh, but like you can what's it called? You can like find out where the hunter is, or like you can find out who the hunter is. The problem with that is that you another way is to just memorize spawns. If you memorize spawns and you memorize the key spawns, you're already gonna know where the hunter is. A lot of times I don't even get key spawns and I still know where the hunter spawns because I know it's gonna come down to either one of two spawns if I don't get a key spawn. Key spawn, by the way, if you don't know what a key spawn is, it's a spawn that guarantees if you get that specific spawn, that is the only spawn like that in the entire game. And if you get that spawn, it basically tells you where the hunter spawn because there is no other spawn like that. That's a key spawn. And so if any of your teammates get a key spawn, they can call out to you, hunter spawn over here. And since this is a rank tier list, you'll technically, even in the highest tiers, you'll technically still have one other person with you that you can have rank communication with, sometimes more than one, if you're trying to team up with your friends at the same time. But this is especially true in tournaments. So this is really one of the worst abilities to like find out where the hunter is. That is the long explanation. Yeah, but I hear what you guys are saying about Catapult. The jump spots are pretty good. Like, honestly, I find that the thing about catapults is catapults are map dependent, but when it's on the right map, they can be ridiculously good. Not just on the toy merchant, but just as other survivors. Honestly, sometimes the toy merchant catapult doesn't even lead anywhere specifically good. It doesn't like make a shortcut or anything. It's just good. It's just good distance maker. Like, I don't know how to put this, but whenever I see catapults being used in stuff like tournaments, it can get insane value because even if it's not leading to anywhere amazing, like let's say it's not hospital. Let's say like you're playing on hospital and like, you could like lead them into like the 2-story, like make them jump through the birdcage window. You could do that. You could, but honestly, the catapults are so good by themselves already. They're really annoying for the hunter. Like if a different survivor just randomly finds a catapult and uses it, it's a really big deal. It's basically like a Priestess Portal that relies on open spaces, or you can jump over walls. The reason I'm gonna put it in B tier though is because this is a ranked tier list and it's gonna be a lot harder. Well, no, but you can see the catapults. The glider is really good. They kept buffing glider, and now glider is actually faster than the hunter. So the catapult is really solid. I feel like people don't realize, like, yes, you can use the catapult in places like Leo's Memory and Hospital, and you could say it's map dependent, but I find that it doesn't even have to be a specific map for catapult, and it still ends up being really good because you get so much distance. Even if it's not anywhere special, as long as it doesn't like hit a wall or something. Like heck, it could be on. You could have a toy merchant on church drop a catapult near one of the church windows. That's insane. It could lead to graveyard. It could lead across church from the inside. It could go if you're jumping the window, the shed window for the church window connecting to shed. Instead of going to shed, what's it called? A toy merchant can set up a catapult going to back gate, so you can use that pallet instead, since that pallet area and that side of the map in general is much better. It connects the map together. Even if it's not anywhere amazing, it connects dead spaces together. So I think I will change my mind. I think I will put this in A tier. I think this is another underrated ability. I think it could be just as good as Flare Gun. Honestly, I do think this. Maybe the pages are like B tier, but I think look, this one I have to play. Because Little Girl has been like just recently coming to my mind. Like I'm thinking about Little Girl recently. I'm like realizing there are a lot of good uses for Little Girl. This is really good late game, not good early game, just good late game. This is a solid ability overall. And if it's a Blood Queen, you teleport away if you got a spawn where the hunter is going to come to you. And so even though you don't counter Blood Queen, you have this to save you. It's really good. What can I say? It looks like the items got pushed down again. That's kind of sus out of context. What did I say? What is Geisha's map called again? Ever Sleeping Town? That's the map with Geisha in it. All right, it's okay, guys. We don't really need to see the last three items. The last three items are Toy Merchant's Closet. Yikes. Don't say that again, Psyche. Well, actually, that's not so bad. We, we got Lizard's scales, and we got the scales that he can give to survivors. This ability, if more survivors could pick up items, I would give this a higher tier. But the fact that almost no survivors in the game can pick up items, every survivor they keep releasing can't pick up items, and so this ability ends up being worse and worse. On top of that, it's a waste of time searching in chests. A toy merchant won't be able to use those items, and usually other people won't be able to use those items. The one thing I can think of that this item is good with, since you start with an item, you can give the item the Mercenary, and then the Mercenary can keep switching between his elbow pads and whatever item the toy merchant got. And then when the Mercenary is rescuing, he already has an item. He's switching between them. He can give the survivor the 3 elbow pads he started with and just keep whatever item the toy merchant gave him. So there is a use for this. There is a use for this, and it's pretty good. But once again, it assumes that the person on chair can pick up the elbow pads. It's the other problem. I think in tournaments, this could be like C, maybe B tier. Since you start with an item, you don't have to even search. Mercenary won't even have to search in a chest, because for those that don't know, this is a real strategy. People will have Mercenary search in a chest. He'll keep whatever item he got in the chest. He'll keep switching between the 2 items so he can carry them around with him. And then when he has to go rescue, he'll give the survivor on chair the 3 elbow pads. And he'll just keep the item he got from chest, maybe use it on the rescue, and then give his elbow pads to the person on chair. But once again, it requires the people to be on voice chat. It requires the people to tell each other, hey, I dropped my elbow pads over here. Come get him. Because by the way, you can't use another item. You can't be switching items when you're already using one of the items. Like if you got a perfume from the chest and you use your perfume, you can't keep switching between elbow pads and perfume. And you're probably going to have to use one of those items on the rescue if you get found from far. If you don't get found from far, consider yourself lucky. Or you just took a good route. In that case, you would just take a route where you wouldn't get found from far. There is use for this. But since this is rank match, unless you are playing Mercenary and your team is playing Toy Merchant and you guys are specifically on voice chat with each other, telling each other, hey, give this to the teammate, there's a good chance that the person even on chair who's not your teammate, who you just randomly match with. Because for those that don't know, in high tier, you can only match with one other person as your teammates, and the other 2 people have to be randoms. I'll leave it at C tier because there is use. There is use, and it's a pretty good use. You can give your elbow pads. The toy merchant can give the item to the Mercenary, and then the Mercenary can switch between elbow pads and the item so that he can give the elbow pads to the person on chair. And then that person can rebound easily with those 3 elbow pads. D, to be honest, most teammates never take it anyway. Thank you for bringing me back to reality. That is usually how a ranked match goes. You're right. Usually people don't even pick it up. You guys know, I have tried giving people my elbow pads in ranked match, and they usually don't see it. That's the truth of ranked match. If this was a tournament tier list, I would probably rank it a little bit higher. Most of these would be in the same tier, though. That's why I'm not going to do a tournament tier list. There are limited cast members that Mercenary can rescue that can actually equip an item anyway, too. That's a good point. You see, that is a problem. That's why I'm saying in tournaments, have people specifically go stuff like, I don't know, Mechanic or Perfumer or Magician would be an interesting one. Nowadays, Magician has become much better. And Magician is a survivor that can pick up items. Technically, Barmaid can pick up items. Weeping Clown can pick up items. You forgot Glider. Oh, shoot. Thank you for reminding me. Glider would be A tier. Glider would be A tier because the Catapult is A tier, and the Glider combines with the Catapult. I'm sorry, guys. Glider would be A tier. I forgot to add it. All right, we got the scales. This is okay. Don't get me wrong. These are good, but you have to be next to a pal to get value out of these. If the hunter ever hits them, they're really good. But usually the hunter is just going to be baiting them out. So pretty much it just works like a perfume or like perfume. Perfume you don't expect to get damaged get damaged by the perfumes when you use the perfume, but you do know that the perfume will prevent the hunter from swinging at you. Same thing here, except it lasts much less. It lasts only 2 seconds compared to Perfumer's 6 seconds. I don't even know if you can reach a paladin in 2 seconds. You have to be right next to a pal when you're using this ability. So it's good. It's good, but a lot of hunters can just hit through that shield as well. It increases his vault speed and pallet drop speed. What does the batter one in S do? I've never played him. I thought he just had a ball or something. Okay, I'll show you. This is his main ability. His cricket ball. And he shoots balls out. that can push the hunter around. It can also save teammates from balloons if he shot the cricket ball while the hunter was picking up. It will not save them if the person's already fully tied up in balloons. But what the rage does is the rage, there's a separate button, and if you press the rage button, it will make it so that when you shoot out the balls can stun the hunter instead of just pushing them back. It still pushes them back, but if the hunter touches a wall, it'll stun them as well. The closer you are when you throw out the ball, and the closer, does it depend? Yeah, it also depends on how close the hunter is to a wall. The closer you are when you shoot the ball, and the closer the hunter is to a wall when they get hit by the ball, the longer the stun will be. It also increases his pallet drop speed and pallet vault speed and window vault speed. So that's a little more of a side note, though. There we go. At least it doesn't give presents. Okay, I talked about this earlier. If you are going against good hunters will actually swing away from your perfume, because if they hit the perfume, the hunter actually loses more than they gain. Sure, they gain presents, but most hunters do not have like particularly amazing 1,000 presence ability. If a hunter keeps hitting your perfumes, even if it's sculptor, they are very likely going to get 3-7 kited, assuming that you're using your perfumes sparingly. And even if you use them back to back to back, like between the 10 seconds right away, even if you do that, that guarantees 30 seconds. And that's not counting the hit recovery and like the time that you spend in between just catching up. What is Dancer's Twirl? Dancer's Twirl, I would probably put it C tier. And the reason is because you go in like a circle. It's supposed to be called a slide, but it doesn't go in a straight line. So very often you just get stuck on some random object. It needs to go in a straight line, and then it would probably be A, B, maybe. It depends how far it would go. Like right now it goes pretty far. But the fact that the devs made it that it goes in like this shape, it messes it up. It messes it up completely. It's really tricky. Not just being tricky, but it's circumstantial. Using his scales as support as for teammates. The scale support is again fine. It's good, but it's only 1 second. So really, if you're gonna use the scale as a teammate, it only lasts 1 second. All right. So if you're ever gonna use the scale, it's going to be good for like maybe basement rescues. If you're worried about a no recovery hit from upstairs, that's a good time to use it. Or like you're camping a pallet and you need to stun the hunter, but as in you can't like just drop the pallet and just walk away or else you're also going to get hit. You have to stun the hunter. Then this is like a good backup. Like if the hunter swings at the pallet and you're afraid of like getting hit while dropping it, maybe you don't want to stun it. Maybe you just want to drop them, but you're afraid you're going to get hit. Or maybe you're afraid they're going to walk through. So then you just activate the scales and drop. I think you can do that. I don't know if there's an animation. If there's an animation for the scale hardening, like I know some survivors like do this, like when they use the scales. I don't know if that prevents you from dropping pallets. I think it does actually. So even if you use the scales, the hunter can just wait 1 second and then swing through the pallet. And then like you can only drop the pallet once the scale hardening runs out. So sorry, Music Man, this took longer than I thought. This is why I don't do tier lists. There is an animation. All right, so that's a pretty big deal. A lot of times you want to keep it looping the circular box range, so it's good. I don't know what. Oh, you mean like going in a circle around the box? You're right. But the problem is a lot of hunters also do well when a survivor loops them. Like Sculptor, Bonbon, these are hunters you want to be transitioning against. You don't want to be looping them. And that's the problem with music boxes. You have to loop them to get consistent value out of them. And a lot of hunters do well when you try looping them, so. I mean, if we're talking about like Wu Chang, you can totally do it. No problem. They're not going to do anything to you. But not so much. Today's meta hunters, not so much. You'll need to be really good at Perfumer to play Lichino decently. Exactly. I mean, his ability lasts 2 seconds. The one he drops on the ground is 1 second. What you're saying is Sim, Dreamwitch, and Main Lucky. This is a weird tier list. You know, you can definitely learn a lot from it. Like, I want to try a little girl now because now that I think about it, her abilities are pretty decent. And Catapult is really good. It's just I wouldn't use it in rank. Maybe I should though. Maybe it's better than I think in rank. I don't know. In rank is good because you can see where the Catapult is. I don't want to be the one playing Toy Merchant. I want someone else to play Toy Merchant, someone who knows what they're doing. And then I'll be fine with a Toy Merchant. I wouldn't want to be the one playing them. His skill cooldown is so long. It's too long. Look, at the end of the day, it's meant to just stall. The hunter's not really meant to hit it. any good hunter is not going to hit it. It's really there just to stall so you can reach a pallet. It's not there to like get hit by it so that you have an insanely long cooldown. If they hit it, I am perfectly okay with a long cooldown because that is like a huge loss for the hunter if they hit it. But we have to show you the power of Dancer. I'm a Smash Dancer anyway. If you can reach, I don't know, if you can consistently beat top sculptors with it, Dream Witches, Broken Wheels, I'll give it to you. But for now, I am not convinced of Dancer. So if you can like consistently do that, I will believe you. Looking forward to soon top 1 Psyche Little Girl. Right now, I'm just trying to focus on Magician. I'm not trying to get top 1 Magician. Hopefully the new Survivor will come out and hopefully not be derived. Hopefully. Anyway, that's going to be it, guys. That was every single item I could possibly think of in this game. I'm sure someone will have timestamps in the comments below. You can also have timestamps. I might add timestamps. No, I'm too lazy. Guys, my throat is really dead. How long have I been talking for? I've been talking for almost 3 hours. This has been longer than a rank stream. What the heck, bro? I've been streaming for a total of 7 hours today. Just this day alone. All right, guys. That's about it. If you guys have any more suggestions for tier lists that people don't do, I don't really want to do Survivor or Hunter tiers. I don't want to do those because that is extreme. Those tier lists are really overdone. A lot of people already do Survivor and Hunter tier lists, and a lot of the community just ends up to be ignorant. They end up being ignorant because they see like, oh, you put Embalmer in C tier. I'm going to be so mad and leave a hurtful rage comment. I don't like to do those tier lists because this is technically not really a competitive server. I want to do like interesting, fun tier lists like these that no one has really ever thought of. So I was thinking of doing a Hunter trait tier list next. And someone did throw out the idea of why not do a 2v8 item tier list, which is interesting. I don't know how I would do that. Because all of the items here will kind of fall out in the same place unless you can buy them from the stuff. Maybe C tier skin tier list. Hunter waifu tier list. No. This was a super informative tier list. Thank you so much. It's so nice to hear at least one person appreciates this tier list. Thank you, Wizard. It's like, have you done Terra tier list? That's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you for the idea. That's a cool one. That's a cool one. You should do Blackjack tier list. I don't like to do Blackjack anymore. I used to do Blackjack. I used to play Blackjack a lot, and I got really good at it. But I don't play it anymore because it's a huge grind playing Blackjack. Trying to get top 100 every week for 10 essences is a good deal. But man, like I already grind rank. There's no way I am not doing a lobby moaning tier list. No, thank you. No, thank you, man. I thought like some bug jumped on my leg there. It was my blanket. My blanket fell on my feet. You love Terra, so that would be helpful. I've only played Terra when it first came out. So I've only played Terra when it first came out. So I only know about a few. I only know a few Hunter and Survivor abilities. But ever since then, they've made it so that almost the entire character roster is available in Terra. So almost every Hunter and Survivor now has abilities. Bro, rate all the Survivors' default costumes? That would be a cool idea. IDV moaning tier list is definitely not coming. Not on this channel, at least. Rank accessory tier list, because some are more helpful in rank and some are more detrimental. That's weird. I don't own all the accessories. I would need like watch a video showing every accessory. Any thoughts about the speed rework affecting forward? I heard some speed hackers abusing it. Oh, I have not heard about the speed rework. What's the speed rework? Are you talking about like the rework where the recent rework where if you're faster than 100%. I know the devs did something where they nerfed speed bonuses where like if you're over 100% increased speed, anything more than that will slightly decrease your speed. Psyche, duo/team list of your favorite and least fave? You mean like two survivors to combine together? Yeah, that one. I have not heard of that. I don't know how you would abuse it though. I thought it would make you slower. Huh. That's weird. I did not know about that. That's interesting. So I mean, I guess we could do a T2V8. Miki wanted me to tell you that he finished his rap and you're still streaming. Okay, we finished the item tier list. It was a long tier list. We had 53 different stuff. If you don't include the Acrobat Balls, it's 51. If you include the glider, which I forgot to include the glider, it would be 52. Glider would be A tier, by the way. It's pretty good. Yeah, especially since they kept buffing it. Now it's actually faster than the Hunter. Survivor hotness tier list. No, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. I use Cowboy Lasso to snatch other team king and give it to the knight. You see, that's a good use of a Cowboy. You can maybe do specific tier lists nobody has ever done before, like a kiting tier list. The reason I don't want to do a kiting tier list is because they would just... Let's say I do a Survivor tier list, all right? And I do a whole Survivor tier list, and I would put like all the kiters in like a certain tier, all the rescuers in certain tiers, all the assist characters in certain tiers, all the whatever the fourth category is. I forgot what the fourth category is. Decoder? Did I say that already? All right. And I do that. And then I do a kiter tier list where I only do kiters. What's going to happen is the kiters are just going to end up in the same spots that they showed up in the regular Survivor tier list. That's why that's why I don't want to do that. Because it's just like a regular Survivor tier list, but with less survivors, effectively. How about a Persona tier list / don't do it, we know what's good? Yeah, that's why I'm not too fond of doing a Persona tier list. Like, most people are going to know what's good and what's not. You look like you've been awake for 2 days straight. I've been streaming for a total of 7 hours today. That's a lot of talking. I was streaming today's rank session for 4 hours in the afternoon. I did like quick matches for 2 hours. I thought it would be way shorter. Like, people told me to finish doing the 100 tier list randomize. By the way, before I end the stream, I'm going to end the stream right here. Thank you guys so much for coming along. Thank you for all the suggestions. I'll definitely do a Hunter trait tier list and maybe a Hunter ability tier list. If you guys didn't know, I stream on Twitch. I'm probably going to move back to YouTube, though, honestly, because I made a poll and over 80% of people prefer YouTube, which is not surprising. It is a YouTube poll after all, so of course all the YouTube people are going to prefer YouTube. But to be fair, I get a lot less people on my Twitch streams, which makes sense. Because no one wants to like have 2 different apps. People just download YouTube just to entertain themselves. All right, but thank you guys so much for coming along. I'm going to close it out here. I'm not going to drag this on, as I've been dragging it on for 3 hours now. Oreo Cat, you're very welcome. You are very, very welcome. Should I write my fantasy story or Lucky Guy quick match for 12 hours? Lucky Guy quick match for 12 hours. It's like you're going to get some rest right now. Yep. I'm going to head out. It's been super fun and helpful. See ya. See ya, FFPN. I think that person's a first-time viewer, unless they changed their name. Guys, thank you so much for joining along. I will see you all next time. Thank you all, guys. Have a good rest of your night. Bye-bye. Gonna turn on some chill music for you guys. For anyone who's probably sleeping during the stream. Just fell asleep to the stream. All right, guys. Take care. My mic is still on. Alright, bye guys. Don't mind me. My voice is really tired. Bye guys.